Chapter 62. Could it be that I didn't drip enough heavenly dew? Gu Chunxia dripped a few more drops, but there was still no reaction. He was patient and dripped 100 drops. As expected, the armor began to squirm. The light blue color started to turn golden. After the heavenly dew touched the hornless dragon armor, the liquid turned into a substance of the same origin as the hornless dragon armor, strengthening the armor itself. The heavenly dew is indeed miraculous. It seems to be able to transform all substances. After drinking it, it will strengthen the human body. When watered, it will make plants stronger. Dripping it on armor will make it stronger and lighter. This is similar to the heavenly Tao of sun and moon. It nourishes all things, and all things use the power of the sun and moon to grow. After 100 drops, the hornless dragon armor turned blue-gold. Its power increased slightly, but there was still no substantial change. Gu Chunxia knew that the heavenly dew was not enough. He dripped another 100 drops on it. The hornless dragon armor's blue color disappeared completely, turning into a golden color. Its original appearance could not be seen anymore. The armor looked like it was made of gold, dazzling and domineering. Its defensive power increased again. How can I sneak in with this shiny golden light? Legend has it that dragons can change their size. When they are big, they can soar into the sky. When they are small, they can hide in the caves of earthworms. I feel that this golden light doesn't match the transformation of a dragon. It hasn't returned to its original state. Gu Chunxia gritted his teeth and dripped another 200 drops. He only had a little more than 500 drops of heavenly dew. Wasting 400 on the hornless dragon armor was a gamble. If it didn't work, then so be it. He had to use the remaining 100 drops himself. He had to use the sun-moon slash and heal himself, so he couldn't waste it. As expected, the hornless dragon armor changed again after 200 drops. The golden light gradually disappeared, becoming faint and illusory. It was as soft as thin sand. When worn on the body, it was as if the person was shrouded in mist. It is indeed mysterious. Unfortunately, I still can't fly. Gu Chunxia experimented. His body moved forward and crashed into the giant boulder. Bada! A human-shaped hole appeared on the boulder. He had crashed through it, but his body didn't feel any recoil. Moreover, he felt like he was about to fly with the slightest bit of force. His feet floated without touching the ground. It felt like he was riding the wind, which increased his speed even more. However, it was impossible to truly fly. One had to borrow the power of the earth to launch attacks and run. If there's enough heavenly dew, this armor might transform into the great dragon armor. After experimenting for an hour, Gu Chunxia was very satisfied. The current hornless dragon armor's sturdiness and the strength it contained had at least doubled compared to before. Relying on the mysteries of this armor, even if he were to face the barbarian marshal, he would probably be able to fight to a draw. However, the armor was not his own strength, and he could not rely on it too much. He could not delay his own cultivation for the sake of a powerful armor. In this regard, Gu Chunxia was constantly on guard against himself, not daring to relax in the slightest. He abruptly leaped down the cliff, reaching a height of several hundred feet. When his feet landed on the ground, the huge impact was completely absorbed by the armor, and he did not suffer any injury. Then, he ran across the river. He was actually able to step on the surface of the water and walk on the waves. This was purely the power of the armor. With his increased speed, he quickly approached Peach County. At this time, Peach County was surrounded by barbarian soldiers and horses. They had tents and camp. Tens of thousands of barbarian soldiers spread out with the county temple as the center, but in an orderly manner. Why are there no rations? Gu Chunxia found a corner and hid in the sun-moon altar. He observed carefully and found that it was very safe. However, he discovered that the barbarian soldiers did not bring rations. Sometimes they brought water bottles with them to eat and drink. After drinking a mouthful of juice, They immediately became energetic. Their horses also drank this. The barbarian army did not bring rations, so they had to kill commoners as sacrifices. However, the surrounding commoners had all been killed, and even more had left this place. Now that the army could no longer kill people as sacrifices, they had to bring rations. Otherwise, they would starve, freeze, or die of illness. There would be many casualties, and they would collapse without a battle. He waited for the sky to turn dark before he went deeper. He once again snuck into the temple and eavesdropped on the conversation between the two barbarian martial arts grandmasters. This time, the Great Wei dynasty actually sent us rations and wine. 1 gourd is enough for a soldier and a horse for 3 months. Otherwise, how could we possibly enter the Yonko territory? Once the soldiers and horses are gathered, we will kill more of those foolish commoners as sacrifices to the god. We will definitely be able to enter the realm of Tao. I can't wait now. A barbarian martial arts grandmaster muttered in the barbarian language. As a prince, Gu Chencha's education was very strict. The barbarian language was also a subject, and he could understand some of it. Some of the local languages were automatically translated into a language that he could understand in his mind. This rations and wine is brewed from many grains and herbs. It concentrates the essence of the food. After I drink it, I am slightly drunk. Energy flows through my limbs. It is beneficial for cultivation. In the future, we have to store more of this. It would be best if we attack the Great Wei dynasty and turn all the people of that dynasty into sacrifices for the god. Another barbarian martial arts grandmaster laughed. The Great Wei dynasty is actually providing the rations and wine. This is no ordinary participation, but a strategic cooperation. However, I feel that things are not so simple. Gu Chensha was secretly shocked. This rations and wine might have side effects or be addictive. I don't believe that the Great Wei dynasty is so kind. They should also know that the barbarians are wolf cubs that cannot be tamed. Throughout history, any dynasty that has tried to appease the barbarians will always be bitten by the barbarians. Let's not care about this for now. I don't want to alert the enemy. Originally, he had wanted to assassinate these two barbarian martial arts grandmasters. However, after thinking about the purpose of this trip, he realized that it was to control the barbarian tribe divine envoy. He had confidence in what Chun Lingyun could not do. This was because the faithless mind-capturing talisman had been nourished by the heavenly dew and its power had reached its maximum. If he controlled the barbarian tribe divine envoy, then all the wealth in the temple would be at his disposal. Hold on. The barbarian tribe divine envoy seems to be communicating with the evil god. If I control him, will the evil god interfere? Will that cause my control to fail? If that happens, not only will I lose the faithless mind-capturing talisman, but I might also die a horrible death. Gu Chensha considered many things. In the depths of his mind, he deduced the following plan. He had to consider all the things that were going to happen. As the saying went, the art of war was to plan things from 1,000 miles away. Let's not care about this for now. I'll go closer and observe. After thinking for a long time, he decided to think of various countermeasures on the spot. Thus, he was familiar with the route and avoided the layers of patrols. Once again, he approached the place where the barbarian tribe divine envoy had trained. This time, he did not meet Prince Gu. He guessed that Prince Gu had lost 18 heavenly dragon soul gathering flags and was furious. Breathe, breathe. No one entered the surroundings of the temple where the barbarian tribe divine envoy resided. It seemed to be a forbidden area. Even the high-level barbarian marshals did not dare to disturb it. The sound of breathing could be heard again. The inside of the palace was pitch black, and many bubbles emerged. The bubbles were multicolored, gorgeous, and overflowing with color. After rising and falling for a while, they withdrew, and then emerged again, repeating this cycle endlessly. Should I hide in the depths of the temple, and see what the barbarian tribe divine envoy looks like? Gu Chensha thought about it. He still did not dare to go near the area where the bubbles gathered. He could only wait. He was very patient. He hid in the depths of the sun-moon altar and observed the situation. After some time, the sound of footsteps could be heard. The barbarian marshal, who was as tall as a giant, appeared. He did not enter the entrance of the temple. Instead, he knelt on one knee and spoke in the barbarian language. "Greetings, Lord Divine Envoy." All the bubbles retracted. A man wrapped in a black robe appeared at the entrance of the pitch-black hall. His face could not be seen clearly. He spoke in a piercing voice, "Marshal Ku Lu, what's the matter?" "Yes, the Great Wei dynasty has already transported all the military provisions and wine. Our warriors have already begun to drink it. According to the doctor's observations, although this wine is good, drinking it for a long time will cause one to become addicted. If they do not drink it, they may even feel weak all over and finally go crazy and die." The barbarian Marshal Ku Lu reported, "The Great Wei dynasty has ill intentions. They want to use this to control us. Lord Divine Envoy, what should we do? Our production of the blood-strengthening pill is insufficient. It is difficult for the nobles to supply them. For this expedition, relying on the blood-strengthening pill will not do. Only the military provisions and wine can support our march." The barbarian divine envoy waved his hand. "Bring me a gourd of military provisions and wine." "Yes." The barbarian Marshal Ku Lu removed the gourd he carried with him and handed it over respectfully. The barbarian divine envoy opened the gourd and actually drank a mouthful. "This military provisions and wine is good stuff. However, it has been added with an addictive drug. This drug is very unique, but it is also a good medicine. It can raise one's spirit, increase one's stamina, reduce pain, and allow the warriors to kill their enemies bravely on the battlefield without fear. It is a pity that taking it for a long period of time will harm the body. After becoming addicted, 1 day of consumption is indispensable. You do not have to worry about this. I will report this to the Archbishop and let him research an antidote." "Yes." The barbarian Marshal Ku Lu asked, "Do the soldiers still need to take it?" "For the time being, there is no problem. It can also increase one's cultivation. This thing should only become addictive after taking it for 2 months. At that time, we will have succeeded. As long as we conquer the great Yonko and sacrifice all the foolish people, we will be able to strengthen our divine powers and allow our God to accomplish an unprecedented feat." The barbarian divine envoy threw the gourd to Ku Lu. "Our God gave me instructions yesterday, saying that we need to kill as many people as possible as soon as possible. Our God is already impatient. We need to attack as soon as possible and conquer Banan province. There are millions of people in this province. If we can kill and sacrifice them all, our God will definitely have more power to do many things. We will also be blessed by God." Chapter 63. Lord Oracle, when are you going to break through the 8th transformation and ignite the true fire in your body? Barbarian Marshal Ku Lu lowered his head. "It's difficult. If you can't break through the other transformations, it won't be life-threatening. But if you can't break through this transformation, you will burn yourself. It's the same for the 8th and 9th transformations. Rubbing your true energy, boiling your blood and burning your body. If you're not careful, you'll immediately turn into smoke." The oracle said, "All right, retreat and organize the troop. Tonight, when the world is the most cloudy, Barbarian King Karo will come." Barbarian King Karo. Ku Lu trembled, as if this king was very scary. "Then what should I do?" "Arrange the defense. This time, no one is allowed to sneak in. Barbarian King Karo is extremely powerful. When he comes, the crack may not be able to hold. I need to use my strength to support him. That will be my weakest moment." The barbarian race divine envoy said, "Also, no matter what happens in the vicinity of this temple, you must not approach, lest the ripples from the cracks tear you to pieces. Yes. I'll immediately arrange the defense and gather all the experts around. Even birds are not allowed to fly in the sky. The barbarian marshal understood the importance of the matter and hurriedly retreated. The oracle returned to the temple and hid in the darkness. However, in the depths of the temple, waves of heart palpitations could be felt. Gu Chernsha heard these words and smiled. It seems that I'm really lucky. If I suddenly sneak attacked, I wouldn't have the chance to use the heartless stealing talisman. But at the most vulnerable moment of the oracle, I have a 30% chance of success. Barbarian King Karo seems to be stronger than the oracle, but I can't deal with him. But as long as I destroy it, he won't be able to come here from the barbarian land. Thinking of this, his smile sank, but I also have to be careful of the oracle's tricks. He clearly knows that I sneaked in and stole a lot of wealth from the treasury. I also killed the 4 old devils, but he couldn't find any clues. It's easy for him to sneak in again. Therefore, he pretended to be very weak, but there's no such thing. He's just testing me and spreading the news so that I'll know and come to deal with him. It's not impossible to fall into his trap. Now, when he did things, he was considerate of all aspects. He did not act rashly, nor did he cower. Patiently lurking, he observed the movements in the temple hall. Gradually, the night grew darker. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and not a single star or moon could be seen. Sometimes the cold wind whistled, and it really felt like the night was dark and windy. Suddenly, the cries of ghosts and gods came from the depths of the temple, and the yin-chi between heaven and earth suddenly increased. Pale green willow, the wisps appeared in the temple hall, floating in the air. They were all the size of a human head, burning fiercely, changing into distorted faces. Those who were timid would be scared to death. Gu Chernsha was in high spirits as he observed carefully. He knew that this pale green ghost flame was probably formed from innate stellar energy. With the willow, the wisp, he could clearly see the people in the temple hall. Only the divine emissary of the barbarian race stood up and danced. The dance had a strong ancient style, with a hint of wildness, as if a shaman was praying to the gods. At the same time, this dance was also an extremely profound martial art. Gu Chernsha memorized it as he watched it. In the future, he could go back and study it, and maybe it could enrich his martial arts experience. In front of the divine emissary of the barbarian race, there was a pitch-black door. It was 5 to 6 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. There were many black lights circulating inside, as if it could absorb everything. The cries of ghosts and gods came from the door. This was the crack in space, and on the other side was the barbarian land. This was no longer a power that could be opened by humans, it was the power of gods. These days, the barbarian race had killed countless people to worship the evil god. The evil god had used his supernatural power to open this door, allowing the barbarian race army to be teleported in continuously. When Gu Chernsha saw this, he wanted to destroy the door immediately, so that the barbarian race army could not return, and could only be wiped out in the 3 counties. But other than Peach County, there were also Tea County and An County. There were definitely teleportation doors. To withstand the teleportation door, very tough materials were needed. The materials used in this temple were very special. Gu Chernsha had long known that it was provided by the Great Wei dynasty. It's already midnight. Gu Chernsha calculated that Prince Karo should be coming out from here. Roar. At this moment, a loud roar came from the door in the crack in space. This sound reverberated in the hall, causing the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. The will-o'-the-wisp swayed. This roar did not come from a human, but from a giant beast that lay dormant in hell. It specialized in devouring people's hearts, human souls, and human corpses. Hearing this sound, Gu Chernsha seemed to see a demon sleeping in the plains of white bones. How terrifying and terrifying was this! Absolutely cannot let the barbarian king come out. Gu Chernsha wanted to charge out. Once the barbarian king appeared, all living beings would be wiped out. No one here could fight him at all. He was probably above Tao Realm 9 transformation. Tao Realm 9 transformation, glass jade body. Once one cultivated it, one would be invulnerable to evil and unbreakable. One's body would be as clean as glass, flawless both inside and out. One would be invincible. Going one step further, the Tao Realm 10 transformation involved the soul and spiritual sense. This was why the Tao Realm 10 transformation was called One Heart Thousand Things. At that time, one's heart would be able to calculate and think about thousands of things at the same time. One would be able to calculate cultivation techniques, deduce the Tao of the heavens, see one's flesh and blood, and analyze spiritual energy. It would be thousands of times better than low-level Tao realm. Especially in battle, one would be able to control the changes in the Xiantian earth energy, which far exceeded the 9 transformation. Right, I still have the ocean-splitting thunderbolt. If not, I will detonate this thing. Gu Qinsha calculated calmly. Why don't I wait for the barbarian king to come out and just blow him up? And no, it seems like the ocean-splitting thunderbolt can't kill glass jade body experts. But if I kill the barbarian race god envoy, then won't I be able to use the heartless snatching talisman? This god temple has been leveled to the ground, so I can't ask for rewards. I can't say that I did it. That way, there will be no evidence and my contributions will be buried. Forget it, I can't care so much about this. Pooh. In the hall, along with a furious roar, the barbarian race god envoy spat out a mouthful of blood. As expected, he injected his Xiantian earth energy into the space crack. As expected, he was at his weakest. Seize the chance. Gu Qinsha came out of the sun-moon sacrificial altar and jumped into the divine temple. Ha ha ha, as expected, I fell for it. The divine emissary of the barbarian race suddenly turned around. The hood of his black robe was lifted, revealing a pale face. His eyes were sunken, and he looked like a ghost. His aura was powerful, and with a wave of his hand, a huge bubble immediately appeared beside Gu Qinsha, wrapping him up. He didn't give Gu Qinsha any chance to react. Unfortunately, Gu Qinsha also made a move at this moment. He held the blood-stained, sea-splitting perilous bead in his hand. Not good, ocean-splitting thunderbolt, mutual destruction. The barbarian race god envoy was shocked. If Gu Qinsha had used any kind of attack, he wouldn't have been afraid at all. Enveloping him with the innate Gang Chi ball was equivalent to locking him in a cage. However, the sea-splitting thunderbolt was different. Once it was activated, the entire temple would probably be reduced to dust. But he couldn't stop it now. Damn it, why do you have this thing? Do you want to die? Rumble. The ocean-splitting thunderbolt was used for mutual destruction. It could only be activated by holding it with both hands, dripping blood on it, and chanting an incantation. It couldn't be thrown out, nor could it be used as a cannon. Maha Prison, suppress. The barbarian race god envoy was sweating all over. He exerted all his Xiantian earth energy to wrap the ocean-splitting thunderbolt. At the same time, a layer of black smoke appeared on his body. The smoke turned into scales, unknown as to what kind of magical armor it was. The ocean-splitting thunderbolt exploded. It exploded in the bubble of Xiantian earth energy. There was a muffled sound, and a bubble that could crush steel into molten iron burst open. Huge flames and destructive power swept in all directions. First of all, this palace hall was hit. The stones were instantly turned into powder, and the palace hall at the top of the sky was also directly blown away, and no one knew where it went. Then, the huge stone pillars in the surroundings were also reduced to nothingness. The barbarian race god envoy's black smoke armor suffered the impact and began to crack inch by inch. But more Xiantian earth energy emerged from his body to protect him. Another talisman turned into black smoke and wrapped around him. It was unknown how many protective magical treasures he had used. But in the face of this explosive impact, it was useless. The Sciention earth energy was the first to shatter, and so was the talisman. The situation of the divine temple outside was even more tragic. Many houses had been blown into the sky, and the barbarian soldiers had disappeared into thin air like dust. With the divine temple as the center, almost half of the county town had been destroyed. Huge flames rushed into the sky like a mushroom. Gu Chensha was in the sun-moon altar at the center of the explosion. He was stunned as he watched the explosion of the ocean-splitting thunderbolt. This was not something a human could achieve. Fortunately, the sun-moon altar was not in the same space. The ocean-splitting thunderbolt only had the power to destroy half the county. It was still far from being able to shake space. Just now, he had almost died from the explosion. When the ocean-splitting thunderbolt was activated, his consciousness had entered the sun-moon altar. If he had been a second slower, he would have been dead even with the hornless dragon armor. He was at the center of the explosion. After the explosion, the space-time rift door disappeared. The barbarian king did not come out. Oh? The barbarian god envoy is still alive? Gu Chensha took advantage of the chaos to jump out again. He found the barbarian god envoy in tatters, lying on the ground. He was struggling to get up. He was seriously injured, but not dead. Isn't it said that those below the glass jade body will die? Maybe this barbarian god envoy has a trump card. His talisman is very strong. But since he is not dead, it suits me. The heavens are helping me. Gu Chensha was overjoyed to see that the barbarian god envoy was only seriously injured and not dead. He did not dare to approach because even if the barbarian god envoy was seriously injured, he was still not someone he could deal with. Fortunately, he had the faithless heart-seizing talisman. This was also part of his plan. As long as the barbarian god envoy was not dead, the faithless heart-seizing talisman would be useful. Seizing heart, go! Chapter 64. As expected, although the barbarian race god envoy was badly injured, he still had the strength to fight. If Gu Chensha appeared and attacked him, he would still be killed. Even if he was at the end of his rope, he could kill 10 Gu Chensha in 3 breaths. Sciention energy appeared on the barbarian race god envoy's body once more. He chose to protect himself first, but the green light from the talisman didn't attack. It directly merged with the Sciention energy and then into the barbarian race god envoy's body. Ah! The divine envoy of the barbarian tribe hugged his head and rolled on the ground. His image was completely ruined. Gu Chensha quickly dodged away. He had never tested the power of the faithless mind-capturing talisman. He had only seen the records and usage of this talisman in ancient books. Slowly, the barbarian race god envoy stood up and jumped in front of him, scaring him. He nearly wanted to hide in the sun-moon altar space. But the barbarian race god envoy's next words filled him with joy. "Master, your loyal servant Kokata greets you." The barbarian race god envoy knelt down on one knee. "This talisman is really strong. Or did I use sky dew to increase its strength? I actually made this barbarian race god envoy yield?" Gu Chensha felt that he had a spiritual connection with the barbarian race god envoy and could command him to do some things. "Bring me out of here," Gu Chensha instructed. "Yes." The god of the barbarian tribe moved. Suddenly, a stream of air wrapped around him and Gu Chensha out of thin air. With a swoosh, he rushed into the air faster than a bird and flew away. In less than half an hour, he had already reached the mountain that was hundreds of miles away. "Put me down," Gu Chensha ordered once more. "Yes." The barbarian race god envoy landed on the ground and retracted his Sciention energy. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. "Are you okay?" Gu Chensha asked. "Master, I am okay." Kokata knelt down on one knee once more. "Because of the explosion, my meridians were injured and my essence energy was damaged. I just need to rest for 10 days to half a month before I recover. Then, can you reach Tao Realm Transformation 8? Gu Chernshaw asked this question. He was a little afraid that after the barbarian tribe divine envoy advanced to the 8 transformations, he would refine the power of the heartless seizing talisman in his body. If he lost control of it, he would die without a burial. In other words, the barbarian race's divine envoy, Kokata, was like a thunderbolt that could explode at any time. Master, I'm cultivating the Maha Suppression Scripture. It's one of the highest secret scriptures in the sect. At the crucial moment, I have to communicate with God King Maha and receive his guidance. Only then can I break through. Now that I no longer believe in God King Maha, there's no hope for me to break through. The divine envoy of the barbarian race hurriedly said, unless I switch to another secret scripture, but that is not something that can be done in a day. It will take at least a few decades or even longer. That's good. Gu Chernshaw relaxed. He knew that after the barbarian race god envoy was hit by the talisman, he wouldn't lie. This meant that he had a Tao Realm Transformation 7 slave. Thinking about it, he was shocked. What did Tao Realm 7 transformations mean? Perhaps the hidden grand elders of those 1,000-year-old clans were also at this level of cultivation. I can't be too arrogant now. I can't expose Kokata and can only train talents for me in the dark to accumulate strength. Gu Chernshaw slowly calmed down. I am relying on the talisman to control him. If I expose it and the other princes find out, they might be able to find a way to remove the talisman. When that happens, I will be in danger. Especially 7th Prince Gafasha, he definitely wouldn't allow himself to have such a strong servant. Moreover, Gafasha's cultivation was above that of the barbarian race god envoy. It was best if he didn't reveal this huge fortune. Kokata, you should change your name. You should call yourself Gu. No, that is the name of the royal family, so you should call yourself Chen. That doesn't seem right. People will think that you are from the Xian dynasty royal family. How about this? You should be called Yiming, the same surname as my godson. Gu Chernshaw thought about it. Yiming greets master. He knelt down once more. It isn't appropriate for you to look like this. Wear the horned dragon armor. Gu Chernshaw took out a set of armor from the space inside the altar and wrapped it around Yiming's body. This way, no one would be able to find out anything about him. Now that the barbarians of Peach County are in chaos, I will immediately return and gather the army to annihilate the barbarians in Peach County. Once everything was arranged, Gu Chernshaw remembered something important. Wiping out the barbarian race troops in Peach County was the most important thing. If he could take back Peach County and wipe out tens of thousands of them, that would be a huge merit. Not only would he be heavily rewarded, but his strength would also increase. With Yiming, who was at the Tao Realm 7 transformation, Gu Chernshaw returned to the small town really quickly. At this moment, all the soldiers in the town were looking into the distance. The giant explosion had spread hundreds of miles away. They didn't know what had happened, but they didn't dare to send troops out. 19th Master, you are finally back? Sure, Taitai was also in full armor and was prepared to fight at any moment. When he saw Gu Chernshaw, he knelt down on one knee. An armored person followed behind Gu Chernshaw. He didn't ask anything, which was really wise. I know what all of you want to ask, but now isn't the time to talk. Prepare to fight, head to Peach County. Gu Chernshaw ordered. There was a giant explosion in Peach County, and the barbarian race temple collapsed. All the experts were killed. We will attack right away, and we will definitely be able to take back Peach County. We will gain many merits and achieve great things. Yes. Everyone was pumped up and all of them sharpened their blades to make ample preparations. Let's go. The order was issued, and it was like a mountain. Everyone took advantage of the darkness and set out for Peach County. Shendu. The sky was bright. The sun hung high in the sky and it was a good day. Lu Baiwe breathed in and out and opened her eyes. Green energy surged into her body and flowed around her. The entire room was filled with the energy of spring. Princess, your cultivation is getting stronger and stronger. Miao Xiang and the others served her. Why haven't I seen any cultivation techniques recently? After I stepped into Tao realm, the Emperor taught it to me personally. It is called the Great Devouring Soul Technique. It doesn't swallow the surrounding spiritual energy, but uses a high meditation frequency to form a key to open a higher dimension. It filters celestial energy that is higher than spiritual energy. Lu Baiwe didn't continue and stood up. What is a dimension? I studied hard and didn't find such a word. Miao Xiang asked. This isn't something you can understand now. Wait until you step into Tao realm. Lu Baiwe was very attentive in teaching these maids. The martial arts of the 10 of you are actually about the same. You have studied hard in the Lu family since young and have fought many times. You have also gone on many missions and annihilated bandit. However, real battlefield experience, fighting bloody battles and killing tens of thousands of people are still not enough. The life and death experience of advancing to the Tao realm must come from this aspect. I see that the barbarian army is almost mobilized. It is time to set off and sweep the enemy's nest. Princess, the temple in Peach County has exploded and the barbarians are in a mess. Prince 19 is leading the troops to attack. Suddenly, Xixiang came in with the latest news in her hand. This is the Eagle message that was just sent. Why did it explode? Did you find out? Lu Baiwe frowned. Could it be that the barbarians' own spacecraft fluctuated? That caused all our efforts to be in vain? I don't know. It only happened half a day ago. Only 10 hours have passed since midnight. Xixiang quickly replied. It was Shi Zhongtie who sent a message to Inspector Banan. Our people in Inspector Banan received the news and released the Eagle. That's how we got the news. I wonder what's going on in Peach County now? Immediately lead the troops to Peach County in Banan Province. Lu Baiwe stood up. The explosion was something she didn't expect. Third Prince has also led the troop. At this moment, Mei Xiang also hurried in and reported the situation. Third Prince was waiting for Gu Chensha to make a move and let him alert the enemy. He also wanted to see what other experts the barbarians have, but he didn't expect that he would make such a big move. If the barbarians really suffered heavy losses because of the explosion, the credit will be Gu Chencha's. In the future, the imperial court will reward him according to his contribution. He will lose all his face. This time, the national policy set by the emperor is to exterminate the barbarians. Based on the prince's contribution, we will focus on training him. As Lu Baiwe spoke, she had already left. The sound of fighting could be heard dozens of miles away. Peach County had turned into a battlefield. Gu Chensha led the troops under his command, in addition to Shi Taidi's army. They converged into a torrent, and took advantage of the chaos to kill their way into the panicking barbarian camp. They didn't want to take any prisoners, they just wanted to kill. It was like an iron nail piercing into the heart, and the barbarian army was caught unprepared. On that day, Gu Chensha alone had intercepted thousands of barbarian cavalrymen. Although he had been trapped, he had still managed to kill 200 to 300 of them. Now, with the help of the army, his killing speed had increased by 10 times. What was even more terrifying was that all of his subordinates were wearing horned dragon armor, and it could be said that they were impervious to swords and spears. They were as strong as bulls, and arrows, swords, and spears pierced their bodies, but they didn't even budge. From this, one could see how invincible the horned dragon armor was. Even if a commoner without any training wore it, he or she could kill 10 elite warriors. If it could really be mass-produced, then the Great Yong Army's extermination of the barbarians wouldn't just be empty talk. However, Gu Chensha did not wear the horned dragon armor. On this battlefield, he was naturally honing his martial art. However, His killing speed was the fastest. When the demon-conquering blade passed by, it was like cutting vegetables. The barbarian soldiers, warriors, martial arts masters, and even the martial arts grandmasters of the barbarian tribe all fell to the ground. Any attack was reflected back. His moves were exquisite and ingenious. In an instant, countless blood balls and souls floated in the space of his sacrificial altar. Originally, there were 500 drops of heavenly dew, but now there were less than 100 drops left. He could kill more barbarian soldiers and generals, and use them as sacrifices to replenish them in the future. Now, he knew that the more heavenly dew he had, the better. Not only could it help him improve and strengthen his flesh, but it could also make his weapons more precious. Even the plants would gain spirituality and evolve continuously. Rumor had it that even ordinary weeds would gain spirituality and become spirits after coming into contact with the heavenly dew. Gu Chernsha had yet to fully understand the wonders of the heavenly dew. Lu Yu, Jiaoliang, and the other two were also honing their martial arts techniques in the midst of killing. In the chaos, they did not kill the ordinary barbarian soldiers, but instead found the martial arts grandmasters of the barbarian tribe and experts of the level of generals to train themselves. Chapter 65. During the battle, Gu Chernsha took the opportunity to observe the situation of his army. Although his 243-man army was ferocious, their killing speed was far inferior to Shurtaidi's army. Shurtaidi's army didn't wear the horned flood dragon armor, but the inferior war python armor. The standard armor of the great Yonko army was ordinary armor, refined armor, spirit snake armor, and war python armor. Each was further divided into upper, middle, and lower grades. The most ordinary bailiffs and tax collectors wore ordinary armor, but they were also made of leather and iron. They were sturdy and could block swords. The refined armor was worn by the constables of the Six Doors Gate. They were used to apprehend bandits and do dangerous things. As for the spirit snake armor, it was for the military officers. The war python armor was only bestowed to generals or true elites who had rendered meritorious service to the enemy. Only warriors with great achievements in battle could be bestowed the armor. Right now, everyone in Shurtaidi's army was equipped with the war python armor. This meant that every warrior had killed at least 100 barbarians. As for the various armors worn by the nobles, they were made by themselves and couldn't be mass-produced. In the past, it was a great crime for the nobles to possess bows and armors. However, the Heavenly Talisman dynasty lifted the ban, allowing the nobles to own weapons as long as they couldn't kill or injure others. Ordinary people could also bring swords and sabers on the street. With this, the Heavenly Talisman Immortal Emperor gained the support of countless people. This also showed how confident he was in controlling everything. If one's cultivation was too high, they wouldn't care about such small matters. No matter how many weapons the nobles had, as long as they dared to rebel, they would be reduced to dust. The value of the war python armor was huge. A low-grade armor could be exchanged for a village. However, it still couldn't be compared to the horned flood dragon armor. The horned flood dragon armor was an epoch-making advancement, symbolizing the leap of military equipment. However, Shurtaidi's army had amazing formations. They formed small formations in threes, and the small formations formed a large formation. The army was as a whole, sometimes forming a needle, piercing through the barbarian army's defensive formation. Other times it formed a sawtooth fan, rolling forward and reaping lives. There were also capable people amongst the barbarians. They shouted loudly and organized themselves into a defensive formation. Shield-bearers, spearmen, archers, and cavalrymen stacked on top of each other. However, the moment the formation was set up, Shurtaidai gave the order to disperse the formation. The formation changed back into a fan shape, and the sickle formation reaped the harvest. After going back and forth a few times, The barbarian soldiers were still unable to form a strong battle formation. They fought on their own, collided with each other, and even trampled on each other. Soon, they were utterly defeated. On the other hand, Gu Chencha's 243-man army did not have this kind of ability. They still gathered together and relied on their physical strength to kill the enemy. They did not have a clear grasp of the battlefield. They had also learned the art of war and trained in battle formations. Unfortunately, when it came to using them, it was not the same thing. This was an experience that could only be gained after thousands of battles. Not to mention the low efficiency, it was also easy to deplete one's stamina. Gradually, the stamina of some of the youths could no longer keep up. If not for the protection of the horned WYRM armor, they might have already lost half of their group. Inexperienced. Gu Chensha shook his head repeatedly. Even if they had the horned WYRM armor, this kind of troop would be completely exhausted if they were surrounded by the barbarian army of tens of thousands. They would be captured and eventually die. Yi Ming did not make a move. Instead, he followed behind Gu Chensha. He was the greatest trump card, and he was only waiting for an expert to appear. The barbarian army was already in a state of panic. Although they had the numbers, they lacked true experts. This was the best time to train their troop. Roar! The barbarian army retreated in defeat. At this moment, an ancient halberd suddenly rushed out from the midst of the barbarian army. It swept up a violent gust of wind, and in the blink of an eye, it was right in front of Gu Chensha. Behind the ancient halberd, there was a figure as tall as a demon god. The barbarian marshal actually did not die from the explosion. Gu Chensha had already expected this. The demon-subduing blade was constantly changing, and he forcefully received the halberd. Dang! The power transmitted from the halberd was tyrannical. It took the form of a spiral and seeped into his body, destroying his meridians. This hidden force was simply at its peak. Sun and moon changes, melt ice and snow. Gu Chensha retreated. The vital energy in his body surged, and with much difficulty, he managed to remove the hidden force. He didn't spit out blood from his injuries. From this, one could see that his martial arts had improved greatly. While he was retreating, the halberd struck once more. Energy formed a net that spread all around, not giving him any chance to breathe at all. After all, the barbarian race general was a Dao realm transformation 3 expert. No matter how strong Gu Chensha was, he was just a mortal realm martial ancestor, and it was tough for him to block it. Yi Ming. Gu Chensha gave the order. Yi Ming, who was behind him, attacked. He didn't even attack. A few ropes formed from Xiantian energy appeared out of nowhere, wrapping around the halberd and then binding it towards the barbarian race general. In the blink of an eye, the barbarian race general's body froze up, and he was totally restricted by the Xiantian energy. If it was the Xiantian energy of Dao Realm Transformation 6, he could only release it and not retract it. The barbarian race general could still dodge it, but the 7 transformation energy was a combination of strength and gentleness. It could be retracted and released at will, and it was as quick as lightning. How could he be his match? One was at the 3 transformation and the other was at the 7 transformation. The difference was just too huge, so it was only natural that he would be captured in one move. The barbarian race general hollered in rage and wanted to struggle, but Gu Chensha stabbed his eyes. The blade entered his brain and destroyed his brain, instantly killing him. It was just so simple. Even Copper Skin Iron Bones realm had a weakness, and the eyes were the obvious weakness. But this barbarian race general was covered in armor, and his weakness had been removed. But when Yi Ming attacked, the armor on his head was lifted, allowing Gu Chensha to kill him in one strike. The moment he killed the barbarian race general, the sun-moon altar rang out. A large ball of blood and a strong soul floated up. It was much stronger than the 4 old demons. Who knew how many sins the barbarian race general had committed, and he was the closest to evil gods. Killing him was the same as helping the heavens get rid of the virus. If one sacrificed him, one would obtain huge rewards. Although there was no good or evil in heaven and earth, there was order. Evil gods were the ones who destroyed order, and they were like the virus on the heavens. Helping the heavens to wipe out demons was the same as helping the heavens to cure diseases. Gu Chernshaw realized that when he killed tigers and wolves to absorb their strength, it was a bad idea. Killing demons and monsters to obtain sky dew was the best plan. For example, if he used his own blood to kill the barbarian race general, he would probably explode from the other party's strength and not even his corpse would be left. Why not use the grass to light the lamp to obtain large amounts of sky dew? Master, the barbarian marshal's armor is called the Desolate Beast armor. It has been tempered hundreds and thousands of times, and has also been blessed by the sacrificial rites of the temple for at least 60 years. It has a spiritual nature and is extremely mysterious. It is not below the hornless dragon armor. It is a rare treasure. Also, his heavenly halberd is made of Xian steel and scarlet iron. It has also been blessed by incantations and is priceless. The barbarian army retreated, they retreated. The soldiers roared. As expected, with the death of the barbarian race general, the barbarian army completely collapsed and scattered. Don't chase. Gu Chernshaw ordered, take inventory of the treasures first. Half of the county had been destroyed, but there were still many places that were intact. There were things left behind by the barbarian soldiers everywhere. The reason why he did not chase was because he had too few men. The entire mountain was filled with barbarian soldiers, and there was no way to chase after them. The barbarian race not only transported soldiers and horses through the teleportation portal, they also transported large amounts of wealth. If he could obtain the majority of the wealth, he would not be short of money for the construction of his mansion. Master, I know where the recently transported items are stored. Yi Ming immediately reported. All of you, set up defenses outside the county and prepare to receive the incoming army. Everyone obeyed Gu Chensh's orders. Sure Tai knew that Gu Chernshaw was going to search for treasures, but he did not care. This was a very normal thing to do. Even if a prince only had a small salary every year, it was barely enough to feed the family and socialize. It was impossible to live without a windfall. A prince was not like an ordinary person. He had at least a few hundred people in his mansion. There were servants, housekeepers, maids, soldiers and guards. Every move he made required money. If he had to raise his trusted aides, raise his own men, cultivate, make friends with officials, build a mansion and buy a manor, he would have to spend all the gold and silver. The key was that Sure Tai knew that Gu Chernshaw was a prince with a poor foundation. He had nothing. To put it bluntly, even a local tyrant from a wealthy place would be richer than him. Everyone, do not get close to the center of the county. Defend the outer perimeter and collect the tools left behind by the barbarian soldiers. Sure Tai ordered. The other soldiers nodded in understanding. Gu Chernshaw and Yi Ming walked to the center of the destroyed temple. There were huge broken stone walls and pillars everywhere. The storage room is here. Yi Ming pointed beneath the ruins. This place was buried by large stones. Even if there were thousands of people, they would need a few days and nights to clear it out. But Yi Ming used his Xiantian earth energy, and it was like many invisible hands. He cleared it out in an hour. The first 6 transformations of Tao Realm are purely about destruction. Only at the 7th transformation, the Xiantian earth energy has many changes. Using it to build, one person can do more than 1,000. Only now did Gu Chernshaw know how strong the 7 transformations were. The underground storage room appeared. It was really deep and there were many pearls embedded within. One could see many giant boxes. The storage room Master obtained last time was just a temporary transfer station. The real storage room is underground. If I didn't know how to open it, no one would know. Many of the resources here were obtained by Great Wei Dynasty from trading with us. Yi Ming knew everything. Okay, monitor the area and don't let anyone get close. Gu Chunxia jumped down and noticed that it was a giant storage room. There were 3 to 5 times more resources than the rewards. He didn't open the boxes and just sent them into the Sun-Moon altar. The altar space was able to store these things. After the last sacrifice, although it didn't turn into the true Sun-Moon altar and was still in its embryonic form, the space was much bigger. Once the thousands of boxes were placed into the altar space, Gu Chunxia entered once more and lit up the grass to sacrifice. This time he killed many barbarian soldiers, generals, and generals. They were all blood balls and souls. All of them were sacrificed and the dew fell like rain. Chapter 66. Although the wealth in the 1,000 chests had not been calculated, it was estimated to be more than 10 million. Such a huge amount of wealth, although it could not be compared to the savings of those aristocratic families for 100 years, or even 1,000 years, it was not something that ordinary tycoons could compare to. Of course, if he did not have the Sun and Moon altar space to store the wealth quickly, it would be difficult for him to eat all of it. At that time, there would definitely be princes fighting for it in the name of the imperial court. Now, he could only pretend that he did not know, and no one could investigate. However, although he had made a fortune, he was not satisfied, because the expenses in the future would not be small. First, he had to pay for the training of these 243 warriors. In the future, they would have their own families, marry and have children, and set up their own businesses. Apart from that, he had to provide for and reward them. Apart from that, he had to pay for the training, weapons, and salaries. Among the aristocratic families, the real warriors did not need to do chores. They practiced martial arts every day and carried out their master's missions. They even had servants to serve them. If they were real experts, they would have their own manners. They were completely upper-class people. Raising such an armored soldier would cost at least several thousand yuan every year, which was equivalent to several thousand taels of silver. This did not include the rewards. As for Lu Yu and the other 4, after Gu Chunxia returned, he would definitely give them houses and small manors, so that they could have their own businesses. This was the rule of the aristocratic families. Only by giving them land and manors could they show that they were loyal and unshakable. They could not betray him. If they betrayed him, they would be despised by others and would never be able to raise their heads again. After everything was prepared, Gu Chunxia jumped up from the ground and said, "Yi Ming, from now on, you just have to be honest and hide your strength. Do not show yourself and do not expose yourself." Yes. Yi Ming hid his aura and was no different from the 243 warriors. As expected, in less than 2 days, countless cavalrymen appeared on the main road. They were like angry dragons, raising a cloud of dust into the sky. The hundreds of people at the front all had an imposing aura. The one at the front was wearing a cloak, but not armor. He wore a purple gold crown and rode on a huge golden horse. It was the 3rd prince, Gu Fascia. The huge golden horse was covered in scales and had horns on its head. It was even more spirited than the barbarian marshal's thunder beast. Surround the county and search them one by one. Take out all of your belongings and don't hide them. Anyone who does will be killed without mercy. When they arrived outside the county, the 3rd prince issued a murderous order. Gu Chunxia, Shi Tai, and the others' expressions changed when they heard it. It was obvious that the 3rd prince was warning them not to keep it for themselves. Lao San is so domineering. Gu Chunxia sneered, but I've already predicted this move. Go ahead and search, all your efforts will be in vain. He had risked his life to kill the enemy and conquer the county. The 3rd Prince Gavasha had arrived just in time to collect the wealth. Gu Fanxiao was originally afraid of the barbarian tribe oracles and did not send out his troops. Now that there was no danger, he came to reap the fruits of his labor. Although this kind of behavior was despicable, it was the custom of the bureaucracy. The soldiers immediately rushed into the county like wolves and tigers. They did not care about Sher Tai and Guchensha, who were resting nearby, and began to search everywhere. Ha 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 ha! The third Prince Gavasha laughed loudly as he entered the city and walked towards Guchensha. The soldiers around him vaguely surrounded the 1,000 people, not allowing them to move. Lao Jiao, you really know how to take advantage of others. When Tao County exploded, you immediately rushed over and actually obtained the credit of reclaiming Tao County. As soon as he said this, Gu Chensha knew that the third prince was very sinister. He said that his actions were taking advantage of others. The meaning behind his words was also very clear. After the explosion, the barbarian army retreated, and then he reclaimed Tao County. However, he did not argue with the third prince. It was meaningless. In any case, as long as he handed over the barbarian marshal's corpse, it would be a peerless achievement. The title of prefecture king would not be able to escape. Gu Chensha did not care, but his subordinates were not convinced. They were very angry. However, he had instructed them to only follow orders, so they did not move. Lao Jiao, your subordinate is not simple. He even has the horned dragon armor. Even I don't have such armor. Gavasha's eyes turned sharp. I heard that Marquis Jusher gave you 300 set. You don't have many subordinates right now. Why don't you lend the extra to me? I'll equip the soldiers and prevent them from getting injured in the battle with the barbarian army. For the soldiers' lives, Lao Jiao, you won't be so stingy, right? Third brother, what are you saying? Marquis Jusher also lent me 300 sets, but not as many as 300. Right now, only 200 sets are just enough. After the battle, I still have to return them to Marquis Jusher. Where would I find the extra to lend to third brother? Gu Chensha would not admit it even if he was beaten to death. He sneered in his heart. This Gavasha was starting to make things difficult for him and was pressing him step by step. However, he would not be fooled. Sher Tai, is what Lord 19th said true? Gavasha looked at Sher Tai. Reporting to Third Master, everything is according to the Marquis's orders. This general is only here to serve and kill the enemy. Sher Tai was a shrewd man. He knew what he could say and what he couldn't. His words were as hard as steel. Gufan Shah's expression was cold as he looked Sher Tai up and down. He had always had the power to decide who lived and who died. Even the viceroy was sweating and trembling under his gaze. Sher Tai was calm and neither servile nor overbearing. Good. Sher Tai, I order you to immediately lead the army and attack T County. Attack the barbarians there. Gavasha suddenly ordered, I'll be there at any time. You'll be the vanguard. Reporting to Third Master, before I came, the Marquis said to listen to Lord 19th's orders. Sher Tai was still stubborn. What did you say? Say it again? Gavasha narrowed his eyes. This general will listen to Lord 19th's orders, Sher Tai said loudly. Good, very good. Men. Gavasha raised his voice. His murderous aura and authority made the people around him not dare to breathe. Third brother, why are you so angry? Marquis Jusher's orders are like a mountain. Sher Tai doesn't dare to disobey. Gu Chensha said, since third brother wants us to go to T County, then I'll lead my men there. We're all working for the imperial court. There's no need to be estranged. Sher Tai, pass on my orders. Pack up and set off for T County. Yes. Sher Tai was like a wooden puppet, obediently carrying out the order. Third brother, I'll leave now. Peach County will be guarded by you. Gu Chensha led his men out of Peach County. They were surrounded tightly, but when the general saw Sher Tai and his men coming, he couldn't help but look at Gavasha, wondering if he should stop them. Gavasha frowned and thought for a moment. Old 19, if you advance rashly and delay the battle, no matter how great your previous contributions are, they will be erased. Third brother, I understand. Gu Chensha nodded. Guvasha waved his hand. The surrounding soldiers opened up a path for Gu Chench's men to pass through, and then they galloped towards T County. Third Master, why did you let him go so easily? A trusted general asked. No matter what, we have to get those 300 sets of horned dragon armor. That's Marquis Jusher's gift to rope in Old 19. Taking it openly will be criticized. Moreover, Marquis Jusher's things aren't that easy to take. Guvasha watched the group leave. I purposely bullied him just now to see Old 19's trump card, to see if he dares to talk back to me. He killed the 4 old demons and conquered Peach County, so he definitely has powerful reinforcements. However, he purposely showed weakness and didn't have any fear in his heart. This made me feel confident, so I let him go. Your Highness, I quickly searched the surroundings and didn't find any treasures, only many sabers, swords, and leather armor left behind by the barbarian soldiers. At this time, the general who had been ordered to search for treasures came. Your Highness, we found an underground treasury, but it's empty. It seems like it's been moved away. Another person came to report. What? Guvasha was slightly shocked. I let Old 19 go so easily because of this treasury. I've already received intelligence that the barbarian army transported a lot of resources to be stored here. Old 19 didn't take anything with him when he left. I've been monitoring these 2 days, and it's impossible for him to have transported all the resources away. Why is it gone now? Your Highness, it's really gone. A few subordinates had ugly expressions. They wanted to get rich, but it was a pity that this place was empty. There are at least tens of millions of treasures here, and there are also many rare treasures that money can't buy. How could they disappear for no reason? Guvasha's face was ashen. What's going on? Are you sure Old 19 didn't move a lot of treasures? Third Master, I'm sure. A general knelt on one knee. Our spies are everywhere. Without a team of thousands of people, there is no way to transport this wealth. He doesn't even have enough people right now. This wealth is packed in thousands of large boxes, and each box needs 5 or 6 people to carry it. It even needs a cart to transport it. There are no signs of wheels here, so His Highness couldn't have touched it. This matter is a little strange. Did the barbarians bring this wealth back when they retreated? Impossible. That transportation gate can't go back. It's a one-way transportation. Guvasha paced. Also, where did the divine emissary and marshal go? Did they all die in the explosion? It's really strange. Old 19 is very strange. Third Master, what do we do now? A few generals gathered around, waiting for this Highness's orders. Send people to keep an eye on Old 19. There must be something strange about him leaving so easily. Guvasha's murderous aura was terrifying. This wealth can't fall into anyone's hands. With this wealth, I can do many things. At this time, deep in the forest, Gu Chench's troops were resting. They didn't go to T County, but went into the mountains to rest. 19th Master, are we not going to listen to His Highness's orders? Sure, Tai asked. Old Third wants to order me around? It won't be that easy. Gu Chensha deliberately said this. He knew that Marquis Jusher and the Third Prince were fighting. If he appeared more forceful in front of Shurtai, it would be easier to gain Marquis Jusher's support. Old Third came in such a hurry to obtain the wealth left behind by the barbarians. Unfortunately, it's like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Shurtai was also very puzzled. He hadn't seen Gu Chensha obtain any wealth. He was a smart man and wouldn't ask about the secret. He would just go back and report it to Marquis Jusher. That was enough. 19th Master, what should we do next? Chapter 67. I kept it a long time ago. Gu Chensha acted mysteriously. If Third Brother sees it, he will take it and say that he killed it. When that happens, I won't be able to argue with him in the imperial court. 19th Master is really scheming, I am impressed. So, should we just stay in the mountain? Sure, Taitai asked. The team and I will train in the mountains for a few days. You lead the team back to report to Dashi Marquis that I understand his intentions. Gu Qinsha felt that although Sure Taitai was on his side, after all, he was on Dashi Marquis' side. It wasn't good for them to know too many secrets. He had many plans for entering the forest, such as hunting tigers and wolves to refine tiger-wolf pills for his subordinates to consume. That way, he could create a bunch of strong warriors and even martial arts masters. Apart from that, he also had to cultivate. Even though he had obtained huge benefits, obtained huge amounts of wealth, trained his troops, and even subdued the barbarian race emissary who was at the 7th transformation of the Tao realm as his servant, in reality, these were all external things. His cultivation was still at the mortal realm grandmaster, and if he didn't increase his cultivation, it was all just an illusion. He was really clear about his weakness. It was that he started too late. Any prince would cultivate from a young age, and their foundations were really firm. He had only cultivated for a year, and although he had a fortuitous encounter, his cultivation wasn't something that could be done in a day. Apart from that, he lacked a good teacher and had to figure things out on his own. At most, he would ask Long Yun for some pointers, but he didn't dare to reveal too many secrets. Now, the barbarian race envoy Yi Ming was the best teacher. This person had reached Tao Realm's 7 transformation and was definitely a top expert. He was in charge of the God Temple, and had even communicated with evil gods and knew many of their secrets. Be it knowledge or experience, he was top-notch. If one asked him for pointers and dug out all of his knowledge, one would be able to enrich one's martial arts, and might even be able to break through to Tao Realm. Sure Taitai knew his place and knew that Gu Qinsha had a secret to do. After discussing for an hour, he led the troops and left. The forest became silent. Let's continue to venture deeper into the mountains to cultivate. There will be no one to look for then. The remaining 243 people, including Lu Yu and the other 4, all obeyed the order. Originally, marching through the mountains was extremely dangerous. The air was damp and miasma was everywhere. Snakes, insects, rats, and ants were everywhere. The reason why the great Yonko army was unable to attack the barbarians was because the barbarian lands were filled with dangerous forests. The forests were ancient and primitive. Once you entered, you would not be able to come out. Not to mention other things, the densely packed poisonous mosquitoes, poisonous leeches, and blood-sucking insects could bite an expert to death. And now, everyone in Gu Qinsha's army was wearing the horned dragon armor. Their entire bodies were wrapped tightly without any gap. Not even water vapor could enter, let alone poisonous mosquitoes and blood-sucking bugs. Furthermore, this armor could keep them warm, protect them from the cold, and filter out poisonous miasma. They could lie down anywhere and rest. This armor was equivalent to completely isolating their bodies from the outside world. With this armor, any tents, bedding, all kinds of supplies, and even horses could be discarded. One had to know that when this armor ran, its speed would be much faster than a horse. If there were horses, then they would have to prepare fodder for the horses and prevent them from getting sick at any time. It was much more troublesome than taking care of people. The annual cost of feeding a high-grade warhorse was more than the cost of eating and drinking for 10 commoners. However, this armor only needed to bask in the sun and absorb sunlight. The more the army marched, the more Gu Qinsha felt that this horned dragon armor was the true weapon of the army. It's a pity that there isn't much heavenly dew. Otherwise, I would be able to evolve the horned dragon armor. Gu Qinsha led the army for half a day and arrived at a real dense forest. There was no path forward, and they had to advance by stepping on thorns. At this time, the benefits of the horned dragon armor were revealed. The path was flat. Even sharp blades and swords could not harm this armor, not to mention the thorns and poisonous thorns. When they arrived at a lake, the 248 people stopped to rest. Everyone took out a blood-strengthening pill and consumed it. All of you train here and train your martial arts. Think about how Dashi Marquis's army has been fighting these few days. I have something to do with Yi Ming, Gu Chunsha instructed. He and Yi Ming hid in the forest. With Yi Ming's ability to fly, his range of activity had greatly increased. He quickly flew through hundreds of miles of forest, and his speed in finding tigers and wolves was also extremely fast. In less than a day, he had caught hundreds of fierce tigers and wolves and refined hundreds of tiger-wolf pills. Huff huff, Yi Ming started to pant. The two of them slowly landed on the mountain. Yi Ming, are your injuries not healed? Gu Chunsha asked. Master, on the one hand, my injuries have not healed, and on the other hand, flying consumes a lot of Xiantian energy. Even if I am at Tao Realm Transformation 7, I won't fly unless I have no choice. The higher I fly, the faster I am, and the more Xiantian energy is consumed. Even if I cultivate the Maha Hell Suppression Scripture, I can't fly anymore. Yi Ming panted as he spoke. He was a Tao Realm Transformation 7 expert, but he actually started to pant. One could see that he was really close to death. So that is the case. The Xiantian energy of Tao Realm Transformation 7 has a huge limit. Gu Chunsha observed and noticed many things. Xiantian energy is stored to fight enemies. Using it to fly is just too wasteful. Yi Ming said everything he knew. If I didn't cultivate the Maha Hell Suppression Scripture and cultivated something else, I would have died long ago. This is a drop of heaven dew. Consume it and you will be able to recover quickly. You will also be able to replenish your energy. Gu Chunsha gave Yi Ming 3 drops of heaven dew. Yi Ming immediately knelt down and was overjoyed. Thank you, Master. With the heavenly dew, not only can I recover from my injuries, but I can also get rid of the evil spirit and evil aura in my body, turning over a new leaf. At the same time, I can cultivate the Maha Suppression Scripture and have hope of breaking through. Break through. Gu Chunsha was shocked and nearly retracted the heaven dew. Yi Ming broke through, causing the Samadhi true flame to appear in his body. After refining the talisman, he would die. He asked, how long will it take for you to break through? So, because of the restriction of the evil god, I need to cultivate another technique. I need at least 60 years to break through. Now I only need 10 years, but I hope that Master can give me more heaven dew. If I have 1,000 drops, then I will have the confidence to break through in 10 years. If Master doesn't give me heaven dew, then I will still need 60 years. Yi Ming wouldn't lie. That is good. Gu Chunsha heaved a sigh of relief. 10 years was okay, even 3 to 5 years was enough for him to develop. It seemed like he had to give Yi Ming less heaven dew in the future, and just let him maintain his current cultivation. After consuming 3 drops and resting for an hour, Yi Ming's injuries were totally healed. His Xiantian earth energy was full and he was filled with energy. Master, I have fully recovered. What should I do next? Just give me pointers. I need to digest all the battle experience I gained and settle it down. Gu Chunsha had thought about it long ago. Yes, Master. Yi Ming said, with the Maha Prison Suppression Scripture as the core, I know thousands of righteous and evil martial arts and have guided thousands of barbarian martial arts grandmasters. Among them, there are dozens of barbarians who have broken through to the Tao realm. Master, I can see through your current situation. You seem to be cultivating the giant spirit divine art, but in reality, you are cultivating a secret art that is countless times more profound. Your technique is even above the Maha Prison Suppression Scripture. Your guess is right. Gu Chunsha wasn't surprised. With Yi Ming's foresight, it was normal for him to be able to see through it. But he couldn't tell him about the Son of Heaven God sealing technique. There were as many techniques in the world as there were sand, but there was one that wasn't that shocking. With Master's strength, in terms of fighting, you can fight against 9 bulls and 2 tigers who are at the second transformation and even win. This is because the first transformation is mainly to absorb spiritual energy. The second transformation is just to increase strength. With these two transformations, you can still be killed by normal swords and blades. The third transformation is different. If Master faces him, he won't be his match. Yi Ming dissected the cultivation realm. If Master just cultivated the Great Spirit God technique, you would have broken through to Tao realm. But because you cultivated such a high-level technique, you weren't able to break through. The higher the technique, the harder it is to break through. But after breaking through, one's achievements will be higher. Master still lacks martial arts foundations and the martial Tao isn't perfect. In other words, you don't have a deep comprehension of the Tao. Go on, I'm listening. Gu Chernsha listened very carefully. This world is formed by multiple parallel universes. It's so complicated that it's hard to calculate. In the ancient gods' divine scripture, it's called multivariate. Each spacetime has its own unique nature. The one we're in is called the material spacetime. It can also be called the color world, or even the true world, which means that it's the real world. The air we breathe doesn't have spiritual qi. Spiritual qi doesn't exist in our world, but it's easily affected by our world and leaked out. Yi Ming waved his hand, and immediately, many stones flew over and arranged themselves according to a strange array formation. He was cutting and cutting. At the same time, he carved some talismans on the stones. 2 hours later, he built a small garden. In the end, he plucked a large tree and cut it into wood. He stabbed it into the ground. There seemed to be a small whirlwind blowing in the garden. Master, try walking into the garden. Yi Ming told him. Gu Chernsha walked in and felt refreshed. The air in this temporary garden seemed to be especially fresh. It was relaxing and even the soil smelled fragrant. This is the spirit gathering formation? Gu Chernsha asked. That's right. I'm using the technique of civil construction to trigger the feng shui, causing the magnetic poles of the sky and earth to distort. This will slightly affect the spacetime, allowing the spiritual qi to leak down from another spacetime. However, this array is too simple and crude. If there's a slight problem, the magnetic poles will disperse. Yi Ming casually kicked a stone, and the refreshing feeling in the small garden dissipated. There are many ways to set up a spirit-gathering formation. Some are big, some are small, and the effects are different. Furthermore, in some places, the natural terrain of the mountains and the earth veins are powerful spirit-gathering formations. That place will produce generations of talented people. This is the case with the spirit of the land. Everything is the effect of the spirit energy. Yi Ming concluded. I said so much to tell Master that the Tao realm is not martial arts. No matter how many battles you have with others, it is just an increase in martial arts experience. The Tao realm is the understanding of the geography of the mountains and rivers, the rules of the universe, the fluctuations of the airflow, the changes of the magnetic poles, and the movement of the sun and moon. If not, you can't connect spiritual energy into your body. Chapter 68. You are so knowledgeable and you don't belong to our great Yonko. Do barbarians have a civilization? Gu Chernsha was curious. Logically speaking, barbarians didn't have much of a culture and were still a primitive tribe. Of course we do, but because of the evil god's guidance, we walked a different path. Yi Ming thought about it and a conflicted expression appeared on his face. Now that I no longer believe in the evil god, I can see it clearly. The evil god is actually using us barbarians as slaves to kill in the material world for him to obtain the souls he needs. Without the evil god, we barbarians can also build a dynasty like yours. That's right, this is the work of evil gods. But there is nothing we can do. Humans can't resist gods, especially you barbarians. Your faith is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Gu Chernsha was delighted. Yi Ming had such thoughts, and in the future, he might really change. In the future, when Master builds a residence, I can be in charge of building a true spirit-gathering formation. I can let the entire residence be filled with spiritual energy and not leak it. Yi Ming was a construction expert and was in charge of building temples. To be able to reach Tao Realm Transformation 7, he definitely wasn't a simple person. Gu Chensha learned about the spirit-gathering path from him and listened to him talk about the changes in wind, water, and magnetism. He also listened to his understanding and comprehension of the Tao realm as well as the experiences of many barbarian race experts. He even heard about many martial arts in the Maha Hell Suppression scripture. He compared it to the Great Spirit God technique and the Son of Heaven Sealing God technique to come up with a systematic cultivation method. In a daze, he felt like the world had shrunk and he had become bigger. Time flowed really quickly and all sorts of knowledge floated about. It wasn't messy and was instead really coordinated like a clear spring flowing in his heart. Unknowingly, 3 days and 3 nights passed and he was totally immersed in learning. When he woke up from it, he didn't feel tired at all. He circulated his vital energy and breathed in and out. His blood surged like a river and instantly flowed around his body. Each inch of his flesh and blood was soft like cotton and tough like iron. He had a new understanding of the sun and moon refinement and sun and moon transformation. Master, you've benefited greatly. I can even sense the changes and entanglement of your blood and chi. It's vast but not turbulent, like the sun and moon hanging eternally in the sky. This type of cultivation method is truly miraculous. Yi Ming was also feeling it carefully, occasionally giving some pointers. I don't think the Maha Prison Suppression scripture is an unorthodox path. On the contrary, it's a path of subduing devils. It's an inclusive mind that suppresses the devils of hell. I've read the scripture in detail, and I think it's very much in line with the legalist's path of punishing evil. Gu Chensha asked for advice again. The Maha God can be both righteous and evil. In the legends, he was the god that suppressed hell, as well as the king of all the demons and evil gods in hell. Thus, the Maha Suppression scripture has both righteous and evil, and it's difficult to distinguish them. It's the same for those who cultivate this scripture. If they want to become a demon or an immortal, they can do it according to their own will. Yi Ming explained, however, there are 3 volumes to this scripture. With my cultivation, I can only cultivate the first volume. The other 2 volumes are even more profound and are not something I can come into contact with. What is the cultivation of that barbarian King Carlo? Gu Chensha thought back to the barbarian king who had come through the teleportation formation. He has reached the 12th Tao realm transformation, the soul-seizing realm. Everywhere he goes, everyone within 10 miles will be controlled by his spiritual sense and become his subordinate. This is his trump card to deal with the Yonko army. Yi Ming said, above the 9th Tao realm is the cultivation of the soul, spiritual sense, and mental energy. The 10th Tao realm is to split one's mind into 1,000 parts and do different things without conflicting. At this Tao realm, one's calculations are so strong that it is inconceivable. This is why one needs the glass jade body's brain to support it. If one doesn't cultivate the glass jade body, the brain won't be able to take it, and it will be tough for one to do 10 things at once. One might even become an idiot. As for the 11th transformation, soul tentacle, thousands of thoughts will spread out from your body to sense the situation around. It will be much clearer than seeing with one's own eyes. One will be able to see through space and even observe the structure of matter. This is something that Xiantian earth energy can't do. The 13 transformations, soul snatching, was when thousands of tentacles and thoughts were born and entered someone else's body, suppressing their thoughts and controlling their body. When one reaches this Tao realm, one will be really terrifying when walking in the human world. Soul tentacle, soul seizing realm, these 2 moves are really terrifying and can't be blocked. Gu Chunxia was shocked. As long as one's realm is lower than his, he doesn't even need to look at you. Within 10 miles, he can suppress your thoughts and turn you into his puppet. Xiantian earth energy is something that has form and can be avoided and blocked. However, soul power is something that one can't defend against at all. Right, there are many levels of strength. Below the 5th Tao realm, one uses the brute strength of the body. From the 6th to the 11th Tao realm, one uses Xiantian earth energy, which is internal strength. At the 12th transformation, it is God power. Brute strength, internal strength, spirit, the soul, the mind. Yiming explained in detail. This is like how the ancients used stone tools, then bronze tools, and then iron tools. Each time, there will be a fundamental change. I am already familiar with the various changes from mortal realm to Tao realm. I also know how to use the vibrations of the magnetic poles to cause the spiritual energy in the spiritual world to leak down. To put it bluntly, if one wants to step into Tao realm, one needs to vibrate their vital energy, coordinate their breathing, and form a feng shui formation within the body to strengthen the penetrating power of the magnetic poles. This will cause spiritual energy to be absorbed into the body and fuse with vital energy to strengthen the body and open up hundreds of acupoints. Gu Chunxia totally understood. After learning and comprehending, his heart was crystal clear. He had deduced the changes from mortal realm to Tao realm and was extremely familiar with it. At this moment, he felt that Tao realm wasn't far from him. He was just lacking that thin layer of window paper. Once the opportunity arrived, he would be able to break it. Right, Master has already understood everything, so there is no more confusion or hesitation. This is good for cultivation, but Master needs to be careful. You can't use heaven dew randomly. This item has the ability to steal the power of heaven and earth. In the future, when you step into Tao realm, absorb spiritual energy and then use heaven dew. The two will combine and your cultivation speed will be 10 times faster. Heaven dew strengthens everything and can bestow spirituality to anything. Yiming pointed out once more, the first transformation of the Tao realm is to absorb spiritual energy and accumulate it. This requires 5 to 8 years of diligent training day and night. After that, your body will change and you will reach the second transformation, the realm of 9 bulls and 2 tigers. However, if Master uses the heavenly dew to neutralize the spiritual energy, you will only need 8 to 10 days to reach the second transformation. After that, you will be able to reach the third transformation in a year, the fourth transformation in 3 years, and the fifth transformation in 5 years. The effects of the heavenly dew are far more than that. There are so many uses for heaven dew? Gu Chunxia felt it was a pity. In order to evolve the hornless dragon armor, he wasted a total of 400 drops of heavenly dew. It was not worth it at all. Oh right, I also obtained a lawbreaker immortal sword. How do I obtain it? Gu Chunxia wore the horned dragon armor and reached out. A silver fish-like celestial sword appeared in his hand. The celestial sword appeared from the sun-moon altar and instantly gave off a majestic aura. It charged into the sky and was about to fly out. Even Gu Chenxia's body was dragged up. Luckily, Yiming was there. He grabbed with both hands and Xiantian energy turned into a bubble that wrapped the celestial sword within. The celestial sword struggled, but it was unable to break free from the suppression of a Tao realm transformation 7 expert. This sword is amazing. Shock appeared on Yiming's face. The spiritual energy in its body isn't enough and it only has 10% of its usual strength. If it is full, even I won't be able to suppress it. The reason why our barbarian race couldn't occupy Xian dynasty was because we had no other choice. Law-breaking, 5-sword combination, along with the 10,000 law through heaven formation, gathered together to form a giant sword formation. It was enough to kill the barbarian emperor. But after the 5 celestial swords form the formation, the spiritual energy within will be used up. We will need 100 years of accumulation before we can form it a second time. So that is the case, Gu Qinsha said. I heard people from the Chun family say that Grand Tutor Wenhong is about to reach the 27th Dao realm transformation. When the time comes, he will retract the sword. Who knows if it is true or not? It is most probably true. Grand Tutor Wenhong is a shocking person and cultivates the 10,000 star flying celestial technique. He also obtained the corpse of an ancient god and merged it into his body, increasing his cultivation by 1,000 years. This is a huge miracle, which is why he is so much stronger than normal people. Yi Ming was still suppressing the law-breaking celestial sword. This sword has his mark and there is no way to subdue it. Unless there is someone at a higher realm than him, but where can I find such a person? Unless it is Great Yong Heaven Talisman Emperor Gu Taxian. He can refine it with a flick of his finger. Of course, if I use Maha Sacrifice to kill living beings and use its power, I might be able to wipe out Wenhong's mark. Sacrifice? Gu Qinsha suddenly thought about it. Why don't I find a way to sacrifice Maha God? If I sacrifice the Heaven Dao, it will be easy to wipe out Grand Tutor Wenhong's mark. But I haven't found a way to do it from the ancient books. Yi Ming, you are also one of the higher-ups of the barbarian race. Do you know how strong my father is? We are going to wage a huge war against the barbarian race, and we are facing the evil god. Do you think we have a chance of winning? Actually, this was what Gu Qinsha cared about the most. Chapter 69. But he still knew who was right and who was wrong in this matter. Before the Heavenly Talisman Emperor, hundreds of countries were divided and fought with each other. There were wars every year, floods and droughts were natural disasters. Bandits and evil devils robbed and killed people. Many sects also recruited disciples and eliminated dissidents. They disrupted the rules of etiquette and the world was in chaos. In the past 10 years, the Heavenly Talisman dynasty had abundant food and clothing. Bandits were wiped out and sects were destroyed. Poetry and literature flourished and the culture was vast. 10 years ago, the commoners in many places were considered wealthy. There were even places that ate grass, tree bark, and soil to death. There were also places that traded their children for food and ate humans and corpses. There were starving people on the roads and floating corpses in the water. 10 years later, no matter how poor a family was, they would still have rice and noodles. The slightly more powerful country gentlemen's families would have meat for every meal. Even the servants would be able to touch meat, and their faces would be flushed red. As for the rich families, they would have ginseng, bird's nest, abalone, ginseng, wing, and stomach. All kinds of energy-nourishing ingredients would be consumed in large quantities. Not to mention the rich and noble families, they consumed large amounts of spirit pills and medicines. 10 years ago, many people couldn't travel far. Even if they were tens or hundreds of miles away from home, they would still tremble in fear of being killed by bandits. But now that the waterways were developed, everyone could travel far. The scholars could even travel with their swords and enjoy the scenery. Gu Qinsha even heard that the Celestial Designer Institute was researching something called the Steel Railway. It used steel to pave the ground, extending in all directions. But he didn't know what it was. Along the way, he gained a lot of knowledge. Even the small town that Lu Yu and the other 4 lived in was quite prosperous. If it wasn't because of the war between the evil sects, they would be living a happy and peaceful life. The country was flourishing. In another 10 years, it would truly be a golden age. Although Gu Qinsha inherited the ancient Heavenly Talisman Edict, in the words of the history books, he had the emperor's fate. But he had his own views. The emperor was a virtuous person. What was virtue? It was to make the world peaceful and the people better. He didn't have the ability or the virtue now. If he had the ability in the future, he would definitely be able to do better than the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. Of course, he wouldn't give way. This was his understanding. Throughout history, there had been countless revolutions and changes of dynasties, all of which were caused by the mismatch of virtue and position. By the way, you mentioned that the Grand Preceptor Wen Hong actually obtained the corpse of an ancient god and absorbed it into his body. I also have a skeleton here. Gu Chensha didn't hide anything. He suddenly made a grabbing motion, and a huge box appeared out of thin air. It was as long as 2 people and 5 feet wide. Master actually has a grotto heaven treasure. No wonder. Yi Ming had his doubts long ago, and only now did he see it clearly. This is a grotto heaven grade treasure that can form its own grotto heaven. Only experts above Tao Realm 30 can craft it, and it belongs to the God race and Golden Celestial race. Let's not worry about this for now. Gu Chensha was trying to intimidate Yi Ming. Look at this skeleton. I stole it from your temple. Prince Gu is going to use some heavenly dragon bone changing technique to increase his cultivation. This is a skeleton left by a Tao Realm 9 transformation expert. It contains a lot of power, and after Prince Gu changes his bones, his strength will increase by several times. But it isn't suitable for Master. But this skeleton is really valuable and can be used to decorate the manor and change the magnetic poles. Yi Ming said, this item contains a strong magnetic pole change. It is something we use to guard the temple. If it is placed in the eye of the formation, the magnetic pole's penetrative power is unparalleled, and it can instantly pierce through the spiritual space-world barrier, causing large amounts of spiritual energy to descend. When the time comes, the people cultivating in Master's manor will obtain huge benefits. Their cultivation speed will be dozens of times faster than normal people. So that is the case. Then, who knows how many aristocrats dream about this skeleton? Gu Chensha said this and placed the skeleton into the Sun-Moon altar's space. Apart from that, he also tossed the law-breaking celestial sword in. The law-breaking celestial sword was well-behaved in the altar and didn't move at all. But the moment it left the altar, it charged about like a dragon. Gu Chensha was annoyed and didn't know how to subdue it. Master, I have already taught you everything I should. You are also familiar with the changes from mortal realm to Tao realm. Next, will you cultivate in the mountain or will you head out? Yi Ming looked around. The environment had changed and one didn't know how much time had passed in the mountain. Actually, I like to live in the mountain and cultivate in peace. Unfortunately, there are many things to do and I have to head out. Gu Chensha stood up. 3 days and 3 nights allowed his knowledge to increase greatly. But he still needed time to settle down to Tao realm. He felt that if he could cultivate in the mountain for 2 to 3 months, he would definitely be able to step into Tao realm. But time didn't allow for it. Now was the crucial period of the battle with the barbarian race. He could rest in the mountain for a few days, but if he hid and didn't head out, then he would be in huge trouble. Let's go. He returned to the lakeside where the troops were resting. The 248 of them were all training their martial arts. All of them were full of energy and their martial arts had improved greatly. Especially Lu Yu and the other 4. Their sword techniques had improved once again. Their Grandmaster aura had become stronger and they were even showing signs of comprehending martial arts barriers. 19th Master, shall we head out now? Yes. Gu Chensha ordered. The soldiers followed strict military rules and followed behind. They walked quickly and silently towards the outside of the mountain. This time, they were heading towards Tea County. The explosion in Peach County had caused all the barbarian soldiers to scatter. But there were still many barbarian soldiers in Tea County and in County. Temples were being built and there were even barbarian god envoys around. The third prince sent Gu Chensha to scout the way. One was to prevent him from robbing the treasures in Peach County. The other was to let him test the waters and be a sacrificial lamb. Gu Chensha wouldn't fall for it. He swallowed the treasures and entered the mountain to train his troops. The troops were extremely fast and weren't hindered by the forest. Even if there was no road in the primitive forest, they could still travel hundreds of miles in a day. In a day's time, they arrived at the main road near T County. The road was filled with bloodstains. There were also torn leather armors, abandoned arrows, dead horses, and broken swords. It seemed like there had been an intense battle. However, the corpses were gone. Someone had cleaned up the battlefield. Stop! Just as Gu Chencha's troops were nearing, a cavalry scout came from afar and roared. At the same time, a horn sounded. It's not the barbarian soldiers? It's the soldiers of my Yonko. Could it be that T County has been conquered? So fast? Where are the barbarian emissaries and barbarian marshals? Gu Chensha was quick-witted. He roared, "Raise my flag and report your name." Immediately, Lu Yu and the other four raised Duke Chen's flag and shouted, "We are the 19th Highness. We are Duke Chen's troops. Who are you? Please wait. I will go report." The leader of the cavalry scout immediately went back. After an hour, he came back and shouted, "Imperial Envoy Princess Yu Fu invites 19th Highness to the county." "Lu Baiwei is here? She was the one who defeated them?" Gu Chensha was slightly stunned. He didn't say much and led his men into the county. The county was intact, but the ground was still stained with bloodstains. The temple was also built majestically, comparable to a palace. Gu Chensha walked in and saw many soldiers along the way. There were sentries every few steps. Some of them were even wearing horned dragon armor. Every soldier's essence, chi, and spirit were complete. Those wearing horned dragon armor are Lu Baiyue's soldiers. The rest should be 3rd Prince or 10th Prince's soldiers. He observed secretly and walked into the temple. As expected, there were many people in the temple. Sitting in the middle were Lu Baiyue, 10th Prince Gu Zhensha, and 3rd Prince Gu Fasha. Seeing Gu Chensha enter, 3rd Prince slammed the table. 19th Prince, you delayed the battle. You deserve to be punished. I asked you to be the vanguard to attack T County. Where did you go? You fled at the last moment. According to the military law, desertion is punishable by death. If a prince breaks the law, he will be punished the same as a commoner. Princess Yuefu, you are the imperial envoy. You have the token of my presence, which is equivalent to the presence of my father. Faced with such a situation, you have to do something, the 10th Prince said darkly. Men, carry the barbarian race 9-star general's corpse up. Gu Chensha expected such a situation and clapped his hands. A few of his subordinates carried the corpse of the barbarian marshal, which was almost as tall as 2 people, in. He smiled and said, "Everyone, when I was leading the troops to attack T County, I happened to encounter the barbarian marshal and his army who had come to reinforce Peach County. Thus, I fought with all my might and finally managed to kill the barbarian army. At the same time, I chased after the marshal and chased him for 3 days and 3 nights in the mountains. After several battles, I finally killed him. I've already asked the generals under Marquis Jusher to write a letter to report this matter. I did, but I don't believe it. I have to check it myself." Lu Baiyue walked down and checked the corpse. A weird expression appeared on her face. As expected, it is a barbarian race 9-star general. Dao Realm Transformation 3, Copper Skin and Iron Bones. You can actually kill him? Lu Baiyue knew that the difference between Dao Realm Transformation 3 and 9 bulls and 2 tigers was a huge gap. Although Gu Chensha could kill the 4 old demons, he would still die if he faced the barbarian race 9-star general. The corpse is here. If I didn't kill him, then did he kill himself? Gu Chensha asked. Not only am I not at fault, but I have also done a great service. Princess Yuefu will handle this matter fairly and report it to father. Of course. Everyone, sit down. Lu Baiyue glanced around and said, Old 19 has just arrived and is not familiar with the situation. I will repeat myself. The 3 counties have been completely recovered, but 3 barbarian oracles, 2 barbarian marshals, and some backbones have escaped. The rest of the army has been killed by us, and the rest have escaped into the forest. The rest are being chased by masters, but they are not a threat. So, old 3, old 10, and Lu Baiwe didn't even kill a single 9-star general? 3 barbarian race messengers. Kakata became Yiming and the other 2 fled. Gu Chensha understood that he had contributed the most. Not to mention anything else, just the 4 old demons and the barbarian race 9-star general far exceeded old 3 and old 10. Chapter 70. Although the 3 counties have been recovered, there is no one here. Most of the commoners have been killed. The most important thing now is to get the local officials to resume production and send the refugees back to their homes. At the same time, we have to chase after the barbarian soldiers who escaped into the mountains. We can't let any of them go. Even if a few of them are left, they will become vicious bandits and sacrifice people to increase their strength. Lu Baiwe walked forward. Of course, we will leave this matter to the officials and the Iron Blood Marquis. We have more important things to do, which is to rush to the border and defend the giant stone wall. At the same time, we will gather troops and wait for the Emperor's orders to wipe out the barbarian race. The Iron Blood Marquis was in charge of managing the sects, bandits and cultivators who didn't respect the Emperor. At the same time, he supervised the officials. He was naturally in charge of cleaning up the mess. Baiwe, your subordinates are all wearing the horned dragon armor. Even old 19th subordinates are wearing the same color. My subordinates are wearing the battle python armor. How can we fight at the border? Outside the giant stone wall is a barren land with dense forests and swamp. There are poisonous insects everywhere and the battle python armor won't be able to defend against them. The 10th Prince Gu Zhensha's expression was ugly. It was one thing for Lu Baiwe's subordinates to wear the horned dragon armor. She had always been favored by the Heaven Talisman Emperor and was second only to him. Even the princes couldn't compare to her. But Gu Chensha's subordinates were all wearing the horned dragon armor. He couldn't take it anymore. The battle in the barbarian land was dangerous. Without the horned dragon armor, it would be hard for the troops to advance. The past dynasties couldn't invade the barbarian land because they couldn't do anything to the barbarian race. The moment they entered, they would be harmed by the endless miasma, beasts and poisonous insects, causing a large number of casualties. The 10th Prince Gu Zhensha was frustrated. He had cultivated to the Tao realm and led troops out to obtain merits and rewards. But the limelight was taken by Gu Chensha. This was a serious blow to his prestige in the court and the people. One had to know that the Heaven Talisman Emperor had been in power for 10 years and the rewards were great too. Especially since the Heavenly Talisman Emperor was very fair in his rewards and punishments. This time around, Gu Chensha had killed the barbarian marshal and the 4 old devils. No one knew what kind of rewards he would receive. Old 10, the horned dragon armor is currently being developed by the Imperial Court. The craftsmanship is extremely complex and the cost is enormous. You wrote to the Imperial Court asking for 1,000 pieces at once, so where would they find so many? Lu Baiwe's tone was very calm. As for old 19's horned dragon armor, it was a gift from the Marquis of Dashi. Marquis Dashi had fought against the barbarians many times and killed many powerful beasts. He had obtained innumerable treasures from the temples and offered them to the Heavenly Craftsman Institute of the Imperial Court. It was with his materials that the Heavenly Craftsman Institute was able to create the horned flood dragon armor. The main materials used to create the horned flood dragon armor were the horns and skin of the savage twin-headed flood dragon. If you can kill a few and hand them over to the Heavenly Craftsman Institute, they can give them to you as well. The 2-headed poison flood dragon was a tyrannical giant python. Its body was 10 zhang long, sometimes even several dozen zhang. It had 2 heads, and it was extremely poisonous. It could spit out venom and poison mist, but it had horns on its head, which were divine objects that could detoxify poison. Moreover, it could expand and contract as it pleased. If one was poisoned, as long as the horn was placed on the wound and rubbed against it, the poison would be sucked into the horn. After soaking the horn in water, the poison would flow into the water. The horn had intelligence, and it was with this intelligence that the imperial court was able to research the horned flood dragon armor. Moreover, the imperial court was breeding the 2-headed poison flood dragon on a large scale, so they could mass-produce the horned flood dragon armor. Old 10th, I still have extra horned flood dragon armor. If you can afford it, how about I sell it to you? Gu Chensha deliberately said. Marquis Dashi had given him 300 sets, and he had used up 249 of them. If Gu Chensha could really take out something good, he wouldn't mind selling it. Old 19th, aren't you getting too carried away? 10th Prince Gu Chensha was furious. He took a step forward, causing the air to swirl and the ground to sink slightly. It actually gave people the feeling that the sky was collapsing and the earth was sinking. 3rd Prince Gu Fasha looked on coldly from the side and didn't say anything. All right, everyone will rest here for 3 days before heading to the borders. I have already sent a secret memorial to His Majesty, and I am waiting for His Majesty's reply. Lu Baiyue waved her hand. Old 10th, your men will go to the south of the county city. 3rd, you will go to the north. I will be in the center, and Old 19th, you will go to the west. Both sides are not to clash. All right. Gu Chensha turned and left. Princess Fuyu, we still have to send someone to transport the corpse of this barbarian marshal to the imperial court. Let the Celestial Designer Institute study it. Of course. I will not bury your contributions, Old 19th. Lu Baiyue was serious. Gu Chensha didn't care about what the 3rd Prince and 10th Prince thought. He led his men to the west of the county city. There were rows of temples built by the barbarians there, and they were quite spacious. They set up camp and began to cultivate. 10th Prince Gu Chensha didn't hide his murderous intent at all. He led his men to the south to stand guard. 3rd Prince Gu Chensha, however, waved his hand and had his men go to the north. He himself stayed in the hall in the center. Baiyue, look at Old 19th. He really has some skill. He casually took some commoners from the town and trained them into fierce warriors. Especially those 5 swordsmen who are martial path complete. They are rare talents. Even the famous grandmasters of the pugilistic world can't compare to them. What do you think? Old 19th naturally has some trump cards, but it's getting harder and harder to see through. Lu Baiyue looked at the barbarian marshal's corpse on the ground again. A sword pierced through the eyes, and a hidden force seeped into the brain to kill a bronze-skinned and iron-boned expert. This barbarian marshal didn't seem to be able to resist at all. If I'm not wrong, he was first captured by a stronger expert and then killed by Old 19th. If Gu Chensha were here, he would be shocked by Lu Baiyue's divination abilities. Even with just a few glances, she had guessed 80 to 90% of the truth. This means that Old 19th has an expert by his side? To be able to lock down the barbarian marshal and make him unable to fight back, he has to be 2 realms higher. Gufasha's expression changed and he said, however, Baiyue, you said that you can't see through Old 19th, but I don't think so. I know that you and Old 19th work together to exchange for tiger wolf pills. 3rd brother, you are so well informed. It seems like you have people by my side. Lu Baiyue's body shook. Same here. 3rd Prince Gufasha didn't mind. We are all doing business, and tiger wolf pills are good stuff. Can you get more from Old 19th? You want to use large amounts of tiger wolf pills to exchange for the right to use the Xiantian million transformation diagram. You are now at the 5th transformation of the Tao realm, gathering spiritual energy in your 100 orifices. This transformation requires a long time, and you need to compress spiritual energy in your body. Only then will you be able to reach the sixth transformation, forming energy into energy and breaking out of your body to destroy everything. Normally speaking, this transformation requires decades of hard work. However, you are cultivating the unmovable Lord of Light technique. This technique is really strong, but it is also really difficult. It is 100 times harder than normal technique. If you cultivate it normally, you will need at least 60 years. But the Sciention Million Transformation Diagram can allow you to compress spiritual energy quickly and shorten the time. In just a few months, you will be able to form Sciention Earth energy. Lu Baiwe said. It was obvious that he knew all about Gufasha's secret. It seems like you have many people by my side. Gufasha's expression was ugly. You even know that I am cultivating the unmovable Lord of Light technique and the Sciention Million Transformation Diagram. Although you are a prince and your mother is from the Fan family, the Fan family has been around for thousands of years and they have many direct descendants. Lu Baiwe continued, many direct descendants think that you are taking up too much of the family's resources. They have a lot of opinions about you. The elders in the family are the same. It is not easy for you to use the Sciention Million Transformation Diagram. You will have to trade for it, and for a family they need an endless supply of talent. Once the Tiger Wolf pill appears, all the junior disciples in the Fan family will want it. They will definitely influence the elders. Which elder doesn't have a few direct descendants? We both know each other's trump cards, so there is no need to say anything more, Gufasha said. I want a lot of Tiger Wolf pills, and old 19 definitely has them. No, you don't know my trump cards, but I know yours. Lu Baiwe's tone was very firm. For example, you don't know what I cultivate. You started cultivating the pure Yin Sutra, then the Daluo Void Tao. That is a technique created by the ancient Tianzi Su. The ancient Tianzi Su originally cultivated the Tianzi God sealing art, but he could not cultivate the second move, living with heaven and earth, so he created his own martial arts. Gufasha knew everything. But the Daluo Void Tao is extremely difficult to cultivate. Even if you use the 100 Tribulation Golden Pill, there will be obstacles. Unless you get some secret treasures from the Fan family. Forgive me for saying this, but the Lu family only became famous in this dynasty. In terms of foundation, it was only a third-rate family in the past. It cannot compare to the Fan family, Fa family, Lei family, and Hong family. I agree with your evaluation of the Lu family. Lu Baiwe did not refute. But your evaluation of my martial arts is very wrong. Do you really think I cultivate the Daluo Void Tao? As she spoke, she lightly grabbed at Gufasha. Buzz. Suddenly, with her as the center, a destructive aura that could shatter heaven and earth, shatter the universe, collapse the world, and fall the gods like rain. One move to defeat all the gods and Buddhas. Gufasha looked like he had seen a ghost. This is Father's great massacre god technique. I can't believe he taught it to you. Even old Seven could not learn it. Why would he teach it to you? The great massacre god technique was known as the #1 killing Tao in the world. Its attack was invincible, but it was not inherited from the immemorial era. Instead, it was created by the heavenly talisman Great Emperor by combining all kinds of martial arts and comprehending the profound mysteries. He had killed countless powerful beings, including gods. This technique was unimaginably terrifying. Anyone who had seen it felt like a nightmare. They did not even want to recall it. Gufan Sha had long since heard from the Fan family's most secretive old-timers that even ancient gods and Buddhas would find it hard to escape a single blow from this art. This art didn't use brute force, spirit power, soul power, or nascent spirit power. It didn't exist in this world. Gufan Sha had heard from the Fan family's most secretive old-timers. The Great Massacre God technique and the heavenly talisman Great Emperor did not teach it to outsiders. He did not even teach it to his closest son. Now, he had taught it to Lu Baiwe. Chapter 71. Originally, he looked down on the Lu clan, but when he saw Lu Baiwe use the great massacre god technique, his thoughts were completely extinguished. What replaced it was extreme caution and extreme caution. Let's talk about the tiger wolf pills. Lu Baiwe knew when to stop. It was enough to intimidate the third prince. After all, the third prince was also a famous prince. Not to mention his high status and power, he had the support of many people in the imperial court. It would not be a good thing to make things too awkward. I only got 2 tiger wolf elixirs from the 19th prince, but I guess he still has a lot of them. What can you take out to exchange? Baiwe, find out what 19th brother needs. Gufasha pushed the problem back to Lu Baiwe. As the middleman, you can definitely earn a lot. In that case, I'll ask for you. Lu Baiwe wouldn't miss out on something she could get. In the south of the county, the 10th Prince Gu Jinsha was furious. Damn you, 19th brother. I didn't expect you to suppress me after I reached the Dao realm. Gu Jinsha punched fiercely, cracking the huge stone wall. 10th Lord, please calm down. A general wearing war python armor walked over. You must control your fist of anger. Otherwise, if it attacks your heart, you'll be in big trouble. Gu Jinsha calmed down instantly. He seemed to have changed into a different person. His aura was heavy and relaxed, and his anger disappeared without a trace. Lei Gang, you're right. I've been unable to control the fist of anger from the ancestral shaman scripture. This fist is activated by anger, and its power increases endlessly. Its power is great, but it's hard to control. Gu Jinsha said, but this fist is combined with my Thunder Dragon force. It's fierce, explosive, and indestructible. After mastering it, my anger will burn the sky. Even the gods and immortals can't block my anger. The so-called anger is the anger above and the heart below. It enslaves one's heart and the hearts of all living beings. It's extremely mysterious, as expected of an ancient fist. I've sent people to keep an eye on the 19th prince, but our priority is to get the horned dragon armor before we go to the wilderness. Otherwise, the war python armor can block swords and spears, but it can't block the miasma and poisonous insect. Lei Gang shook his armor. It was also fully equipped, but there were many gaps that water and fire could seep through. I am also troubled by this matter. I've already heard that the Heavenly Designer Institute is indeed speeding up the work, but it will still take some time. Lu Baiwe doesn't have any extra. Gu Jinsha walked in circles. Although the Lei family has the Heavenly Thunder armor, which is more effective than the Horned Dragon armor, they have only managed to create 3 of them after so many years. It is impossible to mass-produce Dharma treasures. There's no need to think about the Heavenly Thunder armor. Those old fellows from the Lei clan will not give it up. This time, when Lord Ten asked for the Thunder Dragon Rod, the old fellows over there were already furious, saying that in the future, Lord Ten can only repay the clan and not ask for anything from the clan. Lei Gang was obviously his confidant. Actually, Mr. Feng's cultivation level is very high, and he has many strange tricks up his sleeves. He was born in the Tao of witchcraft, and has hidden himself in the depths of the mountains, similar to the wildlands. He should have a way, but it's obvious that he's raising Lord Tenth like a goo. He's grooming disciples everywhere, and then killing them to become the Goo King. It's definitely not a good thing for that guy to teach me the ancestral witchcraft scripture, but I'm happy to play along and learn the strongest ancient Tao. Unfortunately, it's not complete, and he only taught me the angry fist. Gu Jinsha shook his head. Sooner or later, I'll get the entire ancestral witchcraft scripture. Oh right, has the person I asked you to recruit arrived? She's already arrived at the capital. Lei Gang hurriedly said. The Princess of Baoyu Nation has already arrived at the capital in disguise, and is currently living in Lord Tenth's mansion. The king of Baoyu Nation wants her to marry Lord 10th, and then join forces with him. To fight against him. Is that so? Gu Jinsha rubbed his palms. Baoyu Nation is overseas, and it's famous for its jade production. Boss guards the overseas and attacks various countries, and has long coveted Baoyu Nation. Unfortunately, Baoyu Nation is too far away, and there's Dragon Sword Island and Ocean Rock Island in between. But Boss is also very powerful, and actually attacked Dragon Sword Island half a year ago. It seems that Baoyu Nation is also anxious. That's right. However, this princess of Baoyu Nation is not to be underestimated, and she's extremely powerful. She's here to see if Lord 10th has the aura of a hegemon, and she'll be here in a few days. Lei Gang knelt on one knee. Congratulations, Lord 10th. In the future, you might be able to take over the entire Baoyu Nation. This nation's territory is huge, and it's about 30% the size of Xian Province. Its population is also tens of millions, and jade mines are everywhere on the island. Every household uses jade, and there's even spiritual jade, which contains spiritual energy. If an ordinary person holds it in their mouth, they'll be cleansed. I heard that Baoyu Nation also has soft jade armor, and its effects are not inferior to the horned dragon armor. I know it's a must to form a marriage alliance with Baoyu Nation. Gu Jinsha suddenly thought of something. After Dragon Sword Island was breached, the old island lord died in battle, and the young island lord, Long Yun, had long moved away with her direct descendants and a large amount of treasures. Now, Lord 19th's mansion is filled with Dragon Sword Island's kamikaze warriors, and it's hard to get in. If it was before, I would have all kinds of ways to make him bear the crime of keeping kamikaze warriors and conspiring against the law. However, he's been conferred the title of Emperor Father, and he has the authority to open a mansion, build a branch, and run errands. Now that he's made great contributions, even the Marquis of Jusher is in contact with him, and Lu Baiwei seems to be improving their relationship. It'll be very difficult to deal a substantial blow to him. Under such circumstances, it's not good for Lord 10th to stand out. The Emperor's current national policy is to exterminate the barbarians, and His Highness 19th is the first to show off. In order to set an example, the Emperor won't allow others to touch him. Didn't you see that Lord 7th is in control of the central government, and he won't dare to act rashly? However, I feel that Lord 10th will not let this matter rest. What Lord 10th wants is Long Yun, so it's normal for Lord 10th to bide his time and provoke Lord 10th to make trouble first. Lei Gang was obviously the advisor's trusted aide. You're right. Come, I'll write a letter to Big Brother, saying that Long Yun has already pledged herself to Lord 19th. With her help, Lord 19th killed the 4 great devils and the barbarian marshals, and has the potential to rise. Big Brother will definitely not tolerate this. Gu Jinsha ordered, "Bring me a pen and paper." After a while, a sparrowhawk soared into the sky. In the west, Gu Chernsha was practicing his martial arts, but Yi Ming had disappeared. He only returned at night. "Master, that 10th prince wants to harm you. He wrote a letter to eldest prince, saying that Long Yun is helping you to achieve your goals." I guessed that he would do that, but 10th brother reacted a little late. Actually, Big Brother's intel is everywhere, and he probably knew that Long Yun was helping me. Gu Qinsha didn't care about all this. 10th third, how is Lu Baiue's cultivation? 10th prince is at the second transformation of Dao realm. He cultivates the ancient and mysterious Rage Fist. This fist has been lost for a long time, and no one knows where he learned it from. It is really strong. As for third prince, he is at the 5th transformation of Dao realm. He cultivates the unmovable Venerable Ming technique and needs to use the Xiantian million transformation diagram. Lu Baiwei seems to be cultivating the Great Massacre God technique and is at the 2nd transformation of Dao realm. However, she seems like she is about to break through to the 3rd transformation. Yi Ming's cultivation was really high, and as a spy, he was able to find out a lot of news. Great massacre god technique. When Gu Chernsha heard this news, he was no less shocked than Third Prince. Father actually passed this technique to her. Why? 10th brother just advanced to Tao realm not long ago, but he actually improved so quickly. In just a month, he reached the second transformation? After stepping into Tao realm, the first transformation is just accumulating spiritual energy. Normally, one would need a few years to step into the second transformation. If we have pills, we can save a lot of hard work. The hardest part is from mortal realm to Tao realm. You have to comprehend it yourself, and you can't use other methods, otherwise it will be tough for you to improve in the future. Yi Ming warned, there are some areas where you can use external strength, but you definitely can't use the key points. I know that. Gu Chernsha had long understood this. If I don't rely on external forces during cultivation, I will fall into the devil's path. I will have an arrogant heart. However, if I rely on external forces, I will become dependent. I have to control this well. But apart from Lu Yu and the other four, master subordinates are a little weak. They are all commoners and haven't been through strict training since young. It is tough for them to become elite. Yi Ming looked at the 243 people and shook his head. Even the tiger wolf pill can't do it? The tiger wolf pill is fine, but there are some things that have to be tempered from a young age and develop a certain cultivation habit in the soul. The tiger wolf pill gives them strength, but it also gives them a tough character. However, cultivation habits cannot be developed overnight. There is no other way. Gu Chernsha thought about himself. I haven't been through strict training since young. This might be the reason why I can't break through to Tao realm. Master is fine. Maybe he is a genius and I can't see some bad habits in cultivation. Yi Ming said, what I want to tell Master is that when we attack the barbarian race, we have to get the blueprint of the Dragon Transformation Tower. Dragon Transformation Tower? Isn't that an ancient legend? There was once an emperor who wanted to make everyone a dragon. He gathered countless craftsmen and geniuses to research and create a tower. As long as one cultivated in it, one would have the quality of a dragon. But it didn't work. Gu Chernsha said, why does the barbarian race have it too? One of our barbarian emperors unearthed the blueprint and is developing it. As long as it can be built and built everywhere, our barbarian race will be able to break free from the control of evil gods and become independent. Yi Ming said, if Master can get the blueprint and build it in your residence, you will be able to nurture many talents. The tower might not be so magical. Gu Chernsha frowned. We have to rely on our own willpower, but if the barbarian race becomes strong, it won't be a blessing for us. Speaking of residences, I don't know how long Yun is doing, but I want to go back and take a look. But to the capital, even if we can fly, it will take 2 to 3 days. Master, there is no rush. To build a foundation, there are too many people in the capital. I think it is best to build it outside the pass. There are few people in the wilderness and some places have good feng shui. If we can build a residence and nurture talents, that would be the best. The key is that the wilderness lacks resources and it is hard to transport them. Since Master has a grotto heaven-grade treasure, it is perfect. Yi Ming suggested. This is a good idea. There are too many people in the capital and any secret will be discovered. It is better to find a large area in the wilderness to build a residence and use it as a secret camp. But it is too far away. If anything happens in the capital, we won't be able to rush there. Gu Chernsha considered the disadvantages. This is also a disadvantage, but Master has a grotto heaven-grade treasure. When the time comes, you can tame a golden rock and put all the people and things in it. Then, you can ride on the rock and reach the capital quickly. Yi Ming was very confident. Chapter 72. Gu Chernsha kept his subordinates in check, honing his martial arts and the art of war. He did not have any conflicts with the subordinates of the 3rd and 10th princes. Early in the morning, Liu Baiwei sent someone to summon the 3 of them to the main hall. "I've already received a secret order from the Emperor, asking us to meet up at the sky-bearing fortress immediately. This time, all the princes are heading out. Other than the eldest brother who is guarding the sea, even the 7th brother is here." Liu Baiwei held the yellow paper in his hand. "Let's not waste any more time, let's depart immediately." "The 7th is coming too?" The 10th Prince Gu Chernsha was shocked. "Then who is going to supervise the country?" "Naturally, the Emperor." Liu Baiwei closed the paper. "The Emperor went into seclusion a while ago and came out yesterday. Although he has to restrain the evil gods, the Emperor's cultivation is invincible. He has millions of incarnations and sits at the center, suppressing the evil gods, supervising the world, and overlooking the sea. Also," Liu Baiwei looked at Gu Chernsha. 19th, "the Emperor has praised you and has given you the title of Prince Chen. He has also given you 2 manors, 300 fire talisman spears, 9,000 pellets, 300 white tiger sabers made of pure gold, and 300 bottles of battle wine. These will be delivered at the sky-bearing pass." "Battle wine? This thing has really been developed?" The 3rd Prince Gu Chernsha was shocked. "It can heal internal and external injuries, cure hundreds of poisons, and 1 mouthful without eating or drinking for 3 days. It can also clear the meridians, raise the spirit, and cleanse the flesh without any side effects?" "That's right. Even the barbarians have military wine. Although it is provided by the Great Wei dynasty, this wine still poses a great threat to us. The Emperor has long noticed the Great Wei dynasty billions of miles away. That piece of land will belong to our Great Yong in the future. The effects of the battle wine are 10 times stronger than the military wine, and it can increase one's physical strength. However, this wine can only be enjoyed by the elites of the general rank. With this wine, the hornless dragon armor, and the fire talisman spears, the end of the barbarians is near." Liu Baiwei cupped his hands. "We are fortunate to be able to survive in this golden age. Imperial Father is wise." Gu Chernsha also cupped his hands. Gu Chernsha and Gu Fansha could only follow suit, but they were still very jealous. Gu Chernsha was conferred the title of Duke. Of course, with his meritorious service of killing the 4 old demons and the barbarian marshal, it was reasonable for him to be conferred the title of King. The imperial court had a clear distinction between reward and punishment. It would be inexcusable if they did not give a reward. Gu Chernsha was not surprised. If the 7th brother was the one presiding over the empire, the rewards might not be given out and would definitely be delayed. However, given the heavenly talisman Emperor's cultivation base, he was already disdainful of schemes. All schemes were useless to him, and no one in the imperial court would have any thoughts of rebellion. The fire talisman spear, the white tiger saber made of pure gold, and especially the battle technique wine, were all rare treasures. They were newly developed by the imperial court, and the other princes' guards could not enjoy them. Needless to say, the fire talisman spear's long-range shooting was much more powerful than the bow and arrow. After being shot, the spear would explode into a bloody mess. The white tiger saber was rumored to have been refined from the essence of 5 metals and then imbued with the starlight of the white tiger. The baleful aura it exuded would frighten the enemy. It was extremely sharp and specialized in breaking through armor. Even several layers of steel armor would be sliced apart like tofu. They wore the horned dragon armor, carried the white tiger saber on their back, held the fire talisman spear, and drank the battle technique wine. This represented the highest standard of equipment of the Great Yong dynasty. Now that Gu Chernsha's subordinates had all enjoyed it, how could the other princes not be jealous? They were all at the 2nd level of the mortal realm and had reached the next level. With this equipment they could kill 100 ordinary warriors. Without any experts, Gu Chencha's 243 men could kill thousands, or even tens of thousands of barbarians in a frontal assault. They could even penetrate deep into the hinterland to execute the enemy. Let's go. Lu Baiwa waved her hand. Let's hurry to Sky Bearing Pass. Roger. The 4 troops advanced in batches. Gu Chencha's troops advanced silently. They did not speak much or whisper to each other. Their movements were orderly, their footsteps orderly, and their breathing synchronized. Even their movements were similar, as if they had come from the same mother's womb. This gradually gave off the aura of an elite army. But those who were observant were secretly astonished. Princess, the soldiers under his command are just strong farmers from the town. I can't believe they have such a powerful aura. Logically speaking, farmers need at least 5 years of training to be like this, and they also need to go through real battles to suppress bandit. How did he do it in less than a month? The maid beside Lu Baiwe was also fully armed. She wore the horned dragon armor and held the fire talisman spear. This person had a fortuitous encounter and even had the tiger wolf pill. One must know that one tiger wolf pill can make one a tenacious martial arts master. But I don't think he has many tiger wolf pills. In the entire troop, only 10 people have taken them. Lu Baiyue's eyes were sharp. As for the other soldiers, I'm afraid they are being trained by an expert. She was very accurate. These days, Gu Chensha had Yiming train these soldiers. Yiming himself was an emissary of the temple. He was highly intelligent and had a clear understanding of the training of the barbarian soldiers. There were even temple warriors in his temple, who were the true elites of the barbarian race. He was here to train the soldiers, so he was naturally better than the brilliant instructors under Marquis Dashi. The troops marched in silence. Unexpectedly, the 3rd prince and the 10th prince did not provoke them along the way. They focused their minds and calmed their breathing. The troops moved very quickly. After marching rapidly for 2 or 3 days, the scenery of Xian province gradually became more and more barbaric. Strange mountains towered, dense forests, and grasslands at the foot of the mountains. Cattle and sheep roamed and wild horses galloped. The people's customs became rough and barbaric. In addition, the most eye-catching were the many prismatic war fortresses. They were extremely huge, and the surrounding farmland was cultivated. Many families lived in the war fortresses. This was a powerful weapon against the barbarians. Thousands of families lived together in the huge and sturdy war fortresses. When there was nothing to do, they would farm and graze outside. When there was something to do, they would return to the fortress to fight. This was the best way to resist the barbarian invasion for thousands of years. Although the common people living inside the Great Wall no longer suffered from the barbarian invasion after the construction of the Great Wall, the habits of the generations still made them live in group. The imperial court did not stop them. Instead, they strongly encouraged it. This was because the Great Wall was the first line of defense, and the second line of defense was still these war fortresses. The deeper they went, the more war fortresses they saw. They were bigger and denser, and the population also increased. The commercial trade was extremely prosperous. There were merchants, soldiers, people from Jianghu, adventurers, and people from overseas. Your Highness, the barbarian is rich in resources. There are treasures everywhere. The adventurers and people from Jianghu leave the border to seek treasures and make a fortune in the barbarian. The imperial court also encourages this and vigorously develops the border market. The 5 of us went to the border and even hunted a ghost-face wolf. We sold its fur for several thousand yuan. Lu Yu was clever and loyal. He changed the way he addressed Gu Chensha and started to call him Your Highness. The fur and meat of wild beasts in the barbarian are in short supply. The rich and noble families love wild beast meat. It tastes delicious and has very few impurities. It can also make up for the loss of blood essence and strengthen the bones. I know about this. Gu Chunxia walked on the road and waved his banner. Regardless of whether it was soldiers, merchants, or martial arts experts, they all gave way. The best-selling meat in the barbarian should be the Herculean bull. I remember that a long time ago, the imperial palace had a supply of it. The blood-strengthening pill is made from the flesh and blood of the Herculean barbarians and a few herbs in the barbarian. The Herculean bull was a special wild bull in the barbarian. It was ferocious and lived in groups. Sometimes it would eat grass. Sometimes it would even eat other wild beasts and people. This bull was born to gallop, which was in line with martial arts. It could not be tamed. It was restless all the time. Even when it slept, it would sway and run. Because of this, the beef was compact and firm. The older it was, the stronger the meat was. Only the rich and noble families of the past could be called nobles if they could have this meat on their dining table every day. The Herculean barbarians lived in groups. They were ferocious and aggressive. Even martial arts masters could not capture them. Only martial arts grandmasters could seize the opportunity to capture one. This beef was still the main food of many rich and noble families. You are familiar with the market at the border. Do you know the price of the blood-strengthening pill? Asked Gu Chunxia. He wanted to buy some blood-strengthening pills and store them. He had stolen a few boxes of blood-strengthening pills from the barbarian temple. However, it would not take long for more than 200 people to consume them. If a person consumed the blood-strengthening pill for a long time and the supply was suddenly cut off, the body would still accumulate impurities. The only way to maintain a clean body was if one cultivated to the Tao realm and absorbed spiritual energy to wash the blood, flesh, tendons, and bones every day. The blood-strengthening pill is hard to get now. The barbarians have strict control over it, so it is hard for it to spread. The market is in short supply, and the price has been inflated to a few thousand yuan. Many rich and noble families can't afford it now. Lu Yu said, the key is that some big aristocratic families want as many as they can get. They are hoarding them. A few thousand yuan for one? Gu Chunxia calculated. Even if he had 1,000,000 yuan, he could only buy a few thousand. He was a duke now. His annual salary was just over 10,000 yuan. He could only buy 2 or 3. Oh yes, why do I need to buy the blood-strengthening pill? I got thousands of boxes from the barbarian temple. I have been too busy to open them. There should be goods in them. Only then did he remember this. The first time he robbed a temple, he didn't get many blood-strengthening pills. The second time he occupied Peach County, he looted the biggest treasury clean, leaving third Prince Gu Fascia empty-handed. These days, he was busy and afraid of being exposed, so he didn't take a look. Now that he thought about it, he should find a chance to see if there was anything useful. The Imperial Envoy post house is in front. Let's rest there for a night. We should reach Sky Bearing Pass tomorrow. Soldiers can also relax today. Take a look at the market here. There are many things that you might not be able to buy in the capital. Lu Baiwe pointed to the front. In front of them was a huge post house. The ground was made of stone slabs. There were also craftsmen building outside. They mixed a gray mud and solidified it, turning it into hard stone. The paved road was smooth and hard like iron. Gu Chunxia knew that this was the latest product developed by the Celestial Designer Institute. It was called stone mud. It was a godly construction material. It was strong and durable. It wouldn't rot even after being exposed to wind and rain. Welcome, Princess Ufu, 3rd Master, 10th Master, and 19th Master. At this moment, the manager of the post house, the local inspector, and the officials were all kneeling at the door. They had long received the news and had been waiting. Rise. Lu Baiwe waved her hand. She was the imperial envoy and her status was even higher than the prince's. Have the rooms been arranged? Chapter 73. Even at night, the market at the border was very big. There were shops everywhere, and they were brightly lit even at night. There were people coming and going, and there was an endless stream of carriages. One caravan after another transported goods, and there were also martial artists and armed escorts guarding the place. All kinds of restaurants and brothels were bustling with activity, and the atmosphere was different from that of the capital. It was livelier, and hotter. Alcohol, beauties, blood, wealth, and savagery were all gathered in the border market. As he strolled, Gu Chernshaw felt unprecedentedly relaxed. He thought back to half a year ago, when he was hiding in a small room in the palace, enduring humiliation. In his dreams, he felt hopeless, but he still secretly read books and practiced martial arts. However, he gained very little. Until he received the heaven sacrificial talisman, he first obtained the strength of a bear, wolf, and python. He cultivated the Emperor's god bestowal art and became a martial arts grandmaster. He was conferred the title of Duke, opened his own mansion, and started to make a name for himself in Xian province. He killed the 4 demons, the barbarian marshals, obtained heavenly dew, recruited subordinates, and even the barbarian celestial emissaries. But the more it was like this, the more he didn't dare to be presumptuous. He constantly reflected on himself to see if his virtue was worthy of the heaven sacrificial talisman. Only the virtuous could own a divine artifact. These days I haven't done anything bad. I've saved tens of thousands of people in a town, killed demons, killed barbarians, and collected the spell-breaker celestial sword and the heartless seizing talisman. But it was the Chern family that came to deal with me. I had no choice but to defend myself. Chern Jianfeng also let him go. Now that I think about it, I have a clear conscience. Gu Chernshaw had been studying since he was a child. He felt that the most important thing to do was to reflect on himself 3 times a day. Every time he did something, he had to reflect on himself to see if he had a clear conscience. This way, he would gradually develop a great virtue and become a great person. He would carefully reflect on his own actions and reflect on whether they were right or wrong. If there were mistakes, he would correct them in the future. Gradually, he became more confident. The blood in his body became lively, circulating around him. Warm and cool currents flowed, forming a cycle of yin and yang. The sun and the moon alternated day and night. Master, it's not good for you to break through here. If someone disturbs you, you will go berserk and never be able to advance again. At this moment, a voice rang in his ears, waking him up. It was Yi Ming, interrupting his thoughts. Did I just break through? Gu Chernshaw came back to his senses. I forgot myself. I was just having some enlightenment. I didn't expect my soul to be able to harmonize with my body, causing a vibration and causing a change in my body's magnetic pole. Thank you for reminding me. Otherwise, it would have been troublesome. Breakthroughs were most afraid of being disturbed. There were many people in the market, and there were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers. If a disturbance occurred, it would be extremely troublesome. It's best not to break through in one go, but to do it step by step. Test it out slowly, and after many tests, you'll finally reach perfection. Just like your great Yanko's Heavenly Designer Institute, they have to go through hundreds and thousands of experiments to develop new gadget. Breaking through in one go is usually unstable, Yi Ming pointed out again. So that's how it is. Ruling a large country is like cooking a small fish. Although cultivation requires one to be courageous and diligent, that's only during normal times. And at the critical moment, we must use the patience of spring breeze and rain, the patience of dripping water that wears through stone, and the patience of tempered steel that coils around our fingers. Gu Chernshaw immediately understood. Advancing from the mortal realm to the Tao realm was a hurdle for a celestial being to break through. One must not be rash. Lingering at this hurdle and repeatedly testing it would allow one to familiarize themselves with the feeling of the interaction between the soul and the spiritual Qi realm, which would be greatly beneficial to one's future cultivation. Master, your enlightenment has already established your Tao foundation. Yi Ming praised. Actually, there's still a barrier above the mortal realm. To break through the barrier, one must first establish their Tao foundation. The stronger the Tao foundation, the greater their achievements in the future. From what I can see, Lu Baiyue's Tao foundation is the strongest. In fact, her cultivation base could have broken through to the Tao realm 5 years ago, but she only broke through recently. That shows how deep her accumulation is. She could have broken through 5 years ago. Endured for so long? Gu Chensha was horrified, but when he thought about it, it was only natural. This should be the guidance of the heavenly talisman Immortal Emperor. Royal Father even imparted the great slaughter god art to her. There should be many things he taught her in the dark. But to think that Royal Father actually wanted her to get closer to me. Master, someone has noticed us. Yi Ming suddenly looked into the distance. In the distance, a convoy of carriages approached. There were dozens of them, and the one in the middle was very luxurious. It was actually carved out of ironwood. This wood was as hard as iron and fragrant like orchids. Even a small piece of it was worth a lot. The wheels were wrapped in thick leather, so it didn't shake at all. The carriage was huge, and there were 5 horses in front of it. There were many followers around, and each of them wore dark green armor. It didn't look like iron, but more like jade. The dozens of carriages and their followers added up to close to 500 people. However, no one dared to do anything to them. There were crooks and honest folk mixed in the border market. All sorts of large merchant groups came and went. Killing and robbing people was a common occurrence. Although the imperial court was strict with such things, there were many people who were blinded by greed. Now that this convoy was so arrogant and fearless, either they were ignorant or they had absolute strength. There are Tao realm experts in this convoy. Yi Ming closed his eyes. There seems to be more than one. The first carriage, the 7th, 15th, 24th, and 36th all have Tao realm experts. The one in the middle is a girl. Her cultivation is really high, even higher than Lu Baiyue's. However, in terms of combat strength, she might not be as strong as Lu Baiyue. How strong is Lu Baiyue's combat strength? She is at Tao realm transformation 9 bulls and 2 tigers. So can she beat a transformation 3 copper skin iron bone expert? The grand slaughter divine art is said to be the best in killing. In the past, our heavenly wolf god suffered a great loss from it. Even the divine kingdom he built was destroyed. In the end, it was God Maha who secretly made a move to block the attack of the grand slaughter divine art. This is the information revealed in the oracle. Yi Ming recalled, of course, Lu Baiyue doesn't even have 1/10,000th of its strength, but she can't be underestimated. At the very least, she can easily beat Transformation 3 experts. She can even fight Transformation 4 experts without being at a disadvantage. The Great Massacre God technique is a killing move, but how is it compared to my Sun Moon Kill? Gu Chensha made a comparison. The Sun Moon Kill allowed him to kill a Tao realm 2nd transformation old demon when he was a mortal realm martial ancestor. The difference was shocking. If he had the chance, he wanted to try out the power of the Great Massacre God technique. Maybe he would have a new understanding of the Son of Heaven God sealing technique. Heaven Talisman Emperor definitely understood this technique, which was why he created it. When Son of Heaven sealing God, he would slay gods. Speaking of which aristocratic family does this fleet belong to? 6 Tao realm experts. Only a 1,000-year-old aristocratic family can compare to such a lineup. Gu Chensha asked, Yi Ming, you are really knowledgeable. Which family does this fleet belong to? The style seems to be from overseas. Those warriors are wearing dark green armor, but it is ink jade blood jade. If they wear it for a long time, it will absorb the vital energy of the human body and make the jade more and more intelligent. At the same time, the essence of the jade will enter the human body and nourish the meridians. Yi Ming said, "If I am correct, this should be from Baoyu country." Baoyu country, that island country that specializes in producing jade. It is much bigger than Dragon Sword Island and is really strong. But recently, they have been forced by Boss's fleet and have to pay tributes every year. Gu Chensha frowned. Boss has forced the overseas countries to collect many treasures and talent. Although he gave them to the dynasty, most of them were for himself. His strength is getting stronger and stronger. The people from Baoyu country might have been forced to come to Yanko to join other princes and walk the path of Longyun. This time, all the princes are gathering in Sky-bearing Pass. Who knows which prince they are contacting? The overseas countries were really rich and Dragon Sword Island was just one of the smaller ones. They only dared to call themselves an island and not a country. For Baoyu country to dare to call themselves a country, they naturally had their strength. The fleet entered a huge inn in the market. Gu Chensha didn't care and continued to stroll around the streets to enjoy the customs of the border. Just at that moment, a man hurried over. He came in front of Gu Chensha and cupped his fists. 19th Highness, my family's little miss invites you over. Who is your little miss? Gu Chensha asked. 19th Master has already met her. The man was neither servile nor overbearing. He already knew Gu Chensha's identity. Lead the way. Gu Chensha didn't ask any more. The man cupped his fists again and turned to leave. The group entered the huge inn. The interior of the inn was very winding and quiet. It was very classic. There were fake mountains and gardens. It was obvious that it was carefully designed by a feng shui master. There wasn't any clamor. It was obvious that it was only used to receive important guests. The little miss is in the inner building. I only hope that 19th Master can go alone. The man stopped in front of the inner building. The guest shall follow the host's wishes. Gu Chensha waved his hand. Yiming Luyu, wait here. Yes, Master. Yes, Your Highness. Gu Chensha pushed the door open and walked up the stairs. He felt that the atmosphere in the small building was extremely pure. It was like the earth had returned to spring. The soil was fragrant and full of vitality. The whole building was a spirit-gathering formation. Moreover, this formation was rather magical. It was even more effective than the average spirit-gathering formation. He had seen the spirit-gathering formation in the barbarian temple before. However, it wasn't as powerful as the small building. He went up to the second floor and saw a lady playing the guqin. The sound of the guqin was very soft and sounded like a sob. It was impossible to hear it from outside the small building. 5 fingers plucked the strings of the guqin. One could see a beautiful woman sitting on a reef on the sea. The bright moon rises from the sea. Even the ends of the earth share this moment. Lovers complain about the distant night. Unexpectedly, they yearn for each other. The lady lowered her head and recited a poem. This poem was composed by the heavenly talisman emperor. He was a man of great talent and bold vision. Our Baoyu country had long wanted to submit to him. However, treacherous officials were in power and bullied the kind. I wonder if 19th Master can report this to the Emperor and allow our Baoyu country to become the Daong province. Miss, which princess of Baoyu country are you? Gu Chensha hurriedly cupped his fists. I'm ranked 7th, Cold Jade Dew. The lady raised her head. She was exquisite and delicate. She looked delicate and gentle. It was an indescribable feeling of love. At this point, Gu Chensha had a deep impression of the 3 ladies. Lu Baiwei was strong and sharp. She showed off her abilities and had power in the court. She was a heroine. Long Yuyun was meticulous and calculated. She was good at scheming and one couldn't see through her. This lady was weak and gentle. She was the daughter of a noble family. She hid in a brothel and only cared about herself. But based on Yi Ming's detection and his own senses, this lady's cultivation was really high. She was probably at the 3rd or even the 4th transformation. So, it's the seventh princess. Gu Qinsha bowed once more. He had received strict education in terms of etiquette since he was young. Recently, he had been practicing 3 things a day to train his temperament and cultivate his morals. He wanted to be worthy of a portion of the power of the heaven sacrifice decree. I have read many ancient books in Baoyu country. Seventh princess, you are like a jade statue and have a refined aura. It is a pleasure to meet you today. If you have any requests, as long as I am able to do it, I won't reject you. I have also heard of His Highness's deeds. To be able to endure humiliation and soar to the sky, it can be said that when heaven is about to bestow a great responsibility, it must first suffer his muscles and bones. The seventh princess stretched out her hand and a maid served tea. Chapter 74. Gu Qinsha took a sip and felt refreshed. His pores opened up as if he was lying in the clouds, watching the changes of the world as if it were a game of chess, and becoming an immortal. Good tea, he praised immediately. Frost Jade's eyes were filled with surprise. This tea is called Drunken Cloud Plum Blossom. Even a changed state of Tao would take half a day to drink a sip. The 19th Highness actually woke up so quickly, and is still in the martial ancestor realm. This shows that the great Yong imperial family is truly blessed. I don't deserve it. The spiritual energy in this tea is so strong that it is rare and expensive. I'm surprised that the princess spent so much money on it. Gu Qinsha tasted it carefully and knew the effects. I heard that Sister Long Yun is under the 19th Highness command and is building a mansion to become his wife. Is this true? Frost Jade asked. Sister Long Yun and I are close. She wrote to me that your highness is a dragon among men. Seeing you today, I can see that you have such a temperament. The people of Baoyu are simple and elegant. The people play with jade to cultivate their character. Their foundation is the same as Great Yong, and they have been on good terms since ancient times. The imperial family has never bullied the people. For Big Brother to bully such a country is not benevolent. Gu Qinsha went straight to the point. I will write to Imperial Father about this. I have been conferred the title of Junwang, and I have the right to report directly. What request does your highness have? Frost Jade's face was filled with joy. Gu Qinsha shook his head. This matter is beneficial to the Yonko. Using weapons to kill the evil barbarians is the right way, and using benevolence to subdue small countries is also the right way. Big Brother's recent actions have been somewhat demonic. He wants to destroy Baoyu country, and then burn, kill, and loot. In the end, the people will suffer, and the imperial court will suffer. Then I'll leave this matter to your highness. Frost Jade took out a jade box from under the table. There is a jade blood pill in this box. As a token of my gratitude, I hope your highness will not refuse. The jade blood pill is made from jade blood jade that has been buried underground for tens of thousands of years. After dozens of years of refinement, it finally turns into a jade liquid, and then it is nourished with spiritual energy for dozens of years. It was rumored that the jasper blood jade was extremely precious, as it was formed from the blood of a fallen ancient master. When one consumed the jade pill, one's bones would slowly turn into jade and become really firm. Especially for people with Tao Realm 8 transformation Samadhi True Fire, they would be able to save a lot of effort and refine the jade bones in the glass jade body. This pill is so precious that it practically seizes the fortune of heaven and earth. Hearing this, Gu Qinsha gasped. He had read the records in the ancient books and knew that this pill was even more mysterious than the disaster golden pill. Although this pill is precious, it is nothing compared to the safety of my Baoyu country. I only hope that your highness can accomplish this task. Frost Jade do pushed the pill over. However, Gu Qinsha did not take it. He shook his head and said, "It is not an exaggeration to say that this pill is the national treasure of Baoyu nation. I would like to have it, but I can't take it away from someone else. Moreover, Baoyu Nation is not at fault in this matter, so there is no need for this. If I accept it, not only would I be bribing them, but I would also be taking advantage of their misfortune. I don't want the pill. I will try my best to do this. If it was a few months ago, he might have accepted it. Now that his cultivation had deepened and he had some aura, he rejected it. Your Highness is really noble. I am impressed. Frost Jade Dew smiled. Then, I will leave this matter to your Highness. I will plead on behalf of the tens of millions of people in Baoyu country. If I can save millions of people from the calamity of war and ruin of their families, I will feel that the seventh princess has given me great merit. Gu Chensha stood up. Then, I will do this. There is no time to lose. I will go back and write a report. I hope that your Highness succeeds. Frost Jade Dew personally sent Gu Chensha to the door. When Gu Chensha left the inn, a woman appeared beside Frost Jade Dew. Jade Dew, what do you think of this Gu Chensha? Sister Yuyun, I have only interacted with him for a short while, and I can feel that he is a man with a bottom line. He is not like the other princes, who will use any means necessary to achieve their goals. This is rare. The person who appeared beside Frost Jade Dew was Long Yun. That's right, when I misunderstood him and injured him, he did not intend to kill me. However, he is cruel and merciless to the demonic barbarians, and will stop at nothing. I can see that he still abides by the righteous path. Although he is flawed, he will correct his mistake. Long Yun said, I think he is stronger than the other princes. I wonder if he will change in the future. He is not swayed by profit. I admire that. Cold Jade Dew was also quite surprised. I dare say that even the seventh Prince Gufa Shah would not be indifferent to this pill. He would definitely accept it after some hesitation, but he actually forcefully refused. His ability to restrain himself is truly powerful. What if he really accepts it? Are we really going to give it to him? Long Yun asked. Then we will have to rely on you to get it back. Frost Jade Dew smiled. But then again, your cultivation is getting stronger and stronger. You are actually about to break through to the third transformation. This is also because I obtained the divine Mahakasayapa pill and the heavenly dew, which cleanses the evil energy and purifies the spiritual energy in my body, completely stabilizing my foundation. Long Yun did not smile. It is a pity that my cultivation is still too low, and I cannot take revenge. If there is a chance, I will definitely kill the first Prince Gu Hengsha. I want to kill him too. He actually captured the people of Precious Jade Nation to cultivate the Purgatory Blood Pool demonic art. Frost Jade Dew's killing intent appeared, but this person cultivates both righteous and evil, and has already cultivated the first chapter of the Eternal Heavenly Book to perfection. Because he cannot break through to the second chapter, he wants to break through the demonic arts. The Heng clan was the first to support the Heavenly Talisman Monarch, but the Eternal Heavenly Book is incomplete, only half a volume and 2 chapters. Oh right, you mentioned the Heavenly Dew? Where did it come from? Gu Chensha has the Heavenly Dew, and he even nurtures his subordinates. I am very sad to see this. Long Yun shook her head. If I have enough Heavenly Dew, I can turn the Dragon Bone sword into a bone dragon. If I have enough Heavenly Dew, not only can I break through, I can also turn the myriad jade sphere into the jade deity's eye. It is not impossible to kill Gu Hengsha. Frost Jade Dew sighed deeply. Actually, with the potential of Precious Jade Nation, it is not difficult to fight Gu Hengsha to the death. I am just afraid that if I kill him, the Heavenly Talisman Monarch will be enraged, and the Jade Deity, Sea Deity, and Dragon Deity will be shaken. Long Yun continued, now that the commoners of Dragon's Word Island are in trouble, I don't dare to take revenge on the Imperial Court, and can only compromise. If not for the Heavenly Talisman Monarch, we wouldn't be in such a sorry state. The heavenly talisman monarch is the first son of heaven since the beginning of time. Although he doesn't have the heavenly talisman decree, and his title is somewhat flawed, with his cultivation, it doesn't make a difference. Fortunately, he is not a tyrannical emperor, and the commoners of the Yonko are living 100 times better than before. Frost Jade Dew expressed her opinion. Not only that, he has not fooled the commoners, and has even opened up the people's minds. Even the commoners are not prohibited from using weapons, swords, bows, and armor. This is also unprecedented. If we submit to the imperial court, it might not be a bad thing. Look at the first prince. He cultivates the purgatory blood pool art, and he doesn't dare to harm the commoners of the Yonko. If he were to harm the commoners of the Yonko, he would have been captured long ago. That's right, Gu Hengsha only dares to kill the commoners of the Yonko Empire, and announced to the outside world that there were casualties due to the war between the two empires. Although Long Yun was unwilling, she had to resign herself to fate. That's why I wish to submit to the first prince, and turn all the commoners under me into commoners of the Yonko Empire. This can be considered as paving a path of retreat for them. Does Gu Qinsha still have the heavenly dew? If he does, I would like to make a deal with him. Frost Jade Dew was very clear on the benefits of the heavenly dew. He has some secrets that no one knows of. Other than the heavenly dew, he also has the tiger wolf Dan. Long Yun took a sip of tea. This is also the reason why I want to get close to him. You seem to want to get close to the 10th prince, but you have to be careful of him. He is temperamental, sinister and ruthless, violent and bloodthirsty, and definitely not a good person. I think that among the sons of the heavenly talisman monarch, the 19th prince, Gu Qinsha, and the 4th prince, Gu Huasha, are the best. As expected of the 9 sons of the dragon, each one is different. The 4th prince, Gu Huasha, may seem calm and indifferent, but he is actually very ambitious. Don't be fooled by him. Frost Jade Dew sipped her tea as well. Although the 10th prince is temperamental and violent, I can see through him. That makes things easier. That's true. Regardless of good or evil, as long as you can see through them, that's the best. Otherwise, it would all be for naught. Long Yun put down her teacup. This is what it means to see through good and evil, to follow one's heart. Sister Long, now that you have the 18 heavenly dragon spirit convening flags, in addition to the spirit gathering array, you can produce quite a lot of spirit liquid every day. Your subordinate strength will definitely increase by leaps and bounds. I wonder if you can share some of the spirit liquid with me? Frost Jade Dew suddenly thought of something. The spirit liquid is far from being comparable to the heavenly dew. Furthermore, the 18 heavenly dragon spirit convening flags belong to Gu Qinsha, and he's only lending them to me temporarily. I still need to help him nurture his subordinate. But since Sister Long Yun has spoken, I won't be stingy. Here's a gourd, take it. Long Yun clapped her hands, and her personal maidservant brought out a huge gourd that was about a foot tall. So much. Frost Jade Dew was overjoyed. Thank you, sister. Although we in the Tao realm can absorb spiritual energy, we can't condense it into liquid. Refining treasures, concocting pills, and planting herbs all require spirit liquid. If our Baoyu country has this flag for decades, our strength will at least double. Recently, the Great Wei dynasty has been very active. Rumor has it that there are tens of thousands of heavenly dragon spirit convening flags in the dynasty. The spirit liquid churns and turns into a pool of water. I wonder how majestic it will be. Long Yun rubbed her palms together. If we can get more of these flags, we will have the foundation of a 1,000-year-old aristocratic family. In the room of the relay station, Gu Qinsha and Yi Ming sat around the table. There were many jades on the table. Some were the size of a fist, some were the size of a chicken egg, and they all had different shapes. Gu Qinsha kept arranging the jade stones and arranged many patterns on the table. It was a little like a military drill on a sand table. It's done. Gu Chunxia suddenly arranged them, and instantly, the jades on the table gave off a refreshing smell. Yiming casually grabbed out of the window, and a sparrow that was jumping on a tree was caught and placed into the jade stone array. The sparrow immediately stopped moving, as if it was enjoying it. Master really knows how to set up a spirit-convening array. Yiming sighed, this sparrow is lucky. It can absorb the nourishment of spiritual energy in the array. If it has 2 or 3 days, it will gradually develop intelligence. If it has 3 to 5 months, its lifespan will increase. If it has 3 to 5 years, it will become a spirit. If it has a fortuitous encounter and learns a cultivation method, it will become a demon. I finally understand. Everything in the world has its own spiritual waves, which are magnetic poles. They are all different and messy, but by arranging them artificially, they become a whole. Then, the spiritual waves can be sharp and break through some kind of barrier. And the human body is the same. The spiritual waves of the acupuncture points, organs, and bones are all very messy. Through cultivation, they can be unified, becoming more and more concentrated and stronger. Under Yiming's guidance every day, Gu Chencha's understanding of the Tao state became deeper and deeper. Only then did he realize how ridiculous he was in the past. He thought that by cultivating hard, he could break through in one step. Without inheritance and guidance from a master, he would have to take many detours to break through. However, I feel that using jades to set up a spirit-convening array is the best. Chapter 75. No wonder the 7th princess's frost jade dew cultivation is so strong. If I can raise her from a young age, I won't lose to her. Gu Chunxia thought about it. Those millennium-old aristocratic families all had huge arrays. How many talents could they raise over the generations? Even the rich would choose a place with good feng shui. Their families would produce talents for generations, let alone those aristocratic families. Master's physique is actually very strong now. Because it's strong, you have to be careful. For example, if a person holds an embroidery needle, they can easily make all kinds of moves. But if they hold a huge hammer, they will hurt themselves. Master's current body is like an embroidery needle to a hammer. Yiming waved his hand and the jade on the table scattered. The refreshing feeling disappeared and the sparrow flew away. The array was broken and it no longer gathered spiritual qi. What a pity! Gu Chunxia shook his head. Why did you do that? Let the sparrow stay a little longer. Master is slowly cultivating a heart of compassion for all living beings. Your temperament has changed. Congratulations, Yiming praised. Gu Chunxia fiddled with the jade stones again and set up a spirit-gathering formation. This time, the formation was slightly different from before. The world is constantly changing, and the spirit-gathering formation also needs to change at any time. In other words, the formation of those aristocratic families also needs to be watched by experts every day and every month, or else it will lose its effectiveness. To be able to understand this, Master's Tao foundation is even deeper. Yiming hurriedly said, indeed. Feng shui and feng shui can change too. It can take decades or centuries. The original land with good feng shui can become useless. Nothing stays the same in this world. The spirit-gathering array is really good. It can even temper swords. After setting up the spirit-gathering array, Gu Chunxia took out the dagger and placed it in the array. He then carefully adjusted the structure of the array. Spiritual qi appeared in the array again. He could sense that the dagger was also being nourished by spiritual qi. Flesh and blood creatures, plants, metals, all are being nourished by spiritual qi. Over time, they will gain intelligence and finally become demons. However, flesh and blood creatures can become demons in a few years. Plants need hundreds of years. Metals need thousands of years. Yiming pointed at the dagger. This dagger is just ordinary iron, but if it is placed in a spirit-gathering formation for decades, it will become a sharp weapon. If it is soaked in spirit liquid, it will only take a few years. If its master dripped a drop of heavenly dew on it, it would immediately become a treasure that could cut iron like mud and cut jade like tofu. In the future, master must not waste the heavenly dew. It is an extremely precious item, and it is rumored that it is a reward bestowed by the heavenly Tao to those who have merit. In terms of cultivation, a single drop of heavenly dew is equivalent to cultivating in a spirit-gathering array for 60 years. Not to mention, heavenly dew can eliminate inner demons, expel all poisons, refine spirit pills, increase spirituality, and strengthen magic treasures. Exactly. Gu Chensha thought that if he had not used the heavenly dew to strengthen the power of the heartless seizing talisman, the talisman might not have been able to control Yi Ming. Unfortunately, Heaven Talisman Emperor didn't have a decree. Otherwise, with his merits from building the giant stone Great Wall and opening the canal, he would have led his subjects to worship the heavens, and he would have gotten a huge amount of heavenly dew. Yi Ming said. Gu Chensha, on the other hand, had also passed through the ancient book. Apart from obtaining the heavenly dew by killing evil demons and offering sacrifices, ancient Tianzi could also obtain the heavenly dew by offering sacrifices to the heavenly Tao if he had great merits and maintained the order of heaven and earth. That night, he wrote a document to ask the imperial court to allow Baoyu country to submit. At the same time, he studied the spirit-gathering formation. At the same time, he read all sorts of books. He was actually able to do 3 things at once. The Tao Realm 10 Transformations was called 1,000 Things at One Heart. It was really magical and allowed one to meditate thousands of techniques at the same time without conflicting with one another. One's soul and thoughts had to be extremely strong to be able to do that. Gu Chensha cultivated sun and moon refinement and sun-moon transformations. At most, he could do 4 to 5 things at once. Martial arts grandmasters of the same realm found it hard to do 2 things at once. He started to use jade stones to form the spirit-gathering formation. Then, he used normal stones. In the end, he used books, blades, swords, and even tables and chairs in the room. As he practiced over and over again, he gained a new understanding of each object. When he touched any object, be it a stone or a book, he would be able to sense the fluctuations coming from them. Whether they were big or small, strong or weak, the world was different in his eyes. Even the smallest speck of dust had spiritual fluctuations. Humans might be made up of all sorts of small particles. Life is so special. This is the Tao. Comprehension flowed in his heart and his wisdom shone brightly once more. He opened up his mind and naturally sensed the space and the air current. He felt that the space itself was rippling layer by layer and it was really magical. The blood and energy circulation in his body were also moving according to the way heaven and earth shook. In a trance, he seemed to perceive that there was a rolling ocean of spiritual energy in a very shallow layer of void. It was a boundless layer of spiritual energy. As long as he exerted more strength, he would be able to absorb the spiritual energy. He knew that this was the true boundary of the Tao realm. If it was someone else who sensed this realm, they would use all their strength. However, he knew that at this juncture, he had to be even more careful. As the saying went, those who were good at fighting did not have outstanding achievements. He carefully breathed in and out, using his divine will to touch it. Once, twice, thrice. He did it thousands of times, but he still could not break through. However, he was patient. He slowly adjusted his mind and opened his eyes once more. Although he did not break through to the Tao realm during this cultivation, he once again established a firm Tao realm. This also made up for the flaw of not being properly nurtured since young. Which of the other princes didn't receive the support of their mother's family from birth? They were given the best teachers, the best medicine, the best knowledge, and the strictest training to establish the best foundation. However, he was diligent in his studies, and the gap between him and the other princes grew wider and wider. These days of fighting, using the heavenly dew, and Yi Ming's guidance, he had battle experience, spirit medicine, and a great teacher. He was no different from the other princes. Everything happened last night. The sky had just brightened and he did not eat breakfast. After using the heavenly dew, he felt full of energy. He took out a book and read it carefully. He was still reading ancient history. He savored it and felt the depth of the ancient culture. He could see the true meaning between the lines. The words on the memorial he wrote were dignified and thick, but it also had some skill. On it was written, Imperial Father, I, Gu Qinsha, have met the 7th Princess of the Baoyu Nation today to discuss in detail my intention to pledge allegiance. I believe that the imperial court prioritizes benevolence and righteousness. The people of Baoyu are simple and honest. Their temperaments are tempered by jade, and they seem to be modest. His essay was powerful. He quoted the customs of the people of Baoyu and talked about the benefits of submitting to the imperial court. He also talked about the recent overseas activities of the Great Wei dynasty. Although it was organized, the words were simple and clear. He knew that the heavenly talisman emperor's orders were simple. Sometimes, imperial edicts were written in colloquial language. He liked to do things quickly and hated to be long-winded. Thus, he started with benevolence and righteousness. Then, he talked about taxes, customs, and people's livelihood. In just a few hundred words, he settled everything. Come. Here. Lu Yu entered. What orders does your highness have? Get the inn to send out my memorial. Yes. After reading for a while, the sky was bright. However, it started to drizzle. Unknowingly, it was already spring. Everything was growing and the cold winter had passed. 19th Master, Princess Yuefu has ordered me to inform you to pack up and set off. A servant came over. Go and report to the princess. I will set off immediately. Gu Qinsha ordered. Put on your armor and get into formation. Let's go. Kacha kacha, everyone gathered in the courtyard and put on the horned dragon armor. This showed the benefits of the armor. No matter how heavy the rain or the muddy road, it would not get stained. With the armor on, water and fire would not be able to penetrate it. Master, although this armor is amazing, it needs to be maintained. Otherwise, it will break after many fierce battles. It will be a great loss. The best way is to put it in the spirit-gathering formation when it is not in use and use spiritual energy to nourish it. Of course, if there is spiritual liquid applied to it, not only will the armor not break, it will also become sharper and stronger over time. Yi Ming said, so it is not a good thing for Master to let someone take away the heavenly dragon spirit-gathering flag. The spiritual liquid produced by the flag will be of great benefit to the armor. I was careless. I did not think of this. It would be too extravagant to use the heavenly dew to repair the armor in the future. Gu Qinsha shook his head. I can't think too much about it now. Let's talk about it when we reach the sky-bearing pass. The team of 249 people went out and bumped into the 10th Prince's team. Gu Qinsha could clearly feel that the 10th Prince Gu Jinsha's killing intent towards him was much stronger. How did I offend the 10th Prince? He was a little confused, but he was not afraid. Lu Baiyue's army walked in front. All the officials sent them off in the rain. The spring rain drenched their uniforms and they did not dare to move. 19th Prince, I have something to tell you. Lu Baiyue called out. The two of them rode side by side. What is it? Gu Qinsha knew that Lu Baiyue would not speak without thinking. Last night you went out for a walk and met the 7th Princess of Baoyu country? Lu Baiyue asked. That's right. Gu Qinsha knew that this woman had sharp eyes and ears, so he didn't hide it. This woman hopes that I can write a memorial for Imperial Father, so that the Jade Nation can side with Great Yong, and that their imperial family will guard Great Yong for generations. This matter is extremely complicated. It is best that you do not get involved. The first prince is eyeing Baoyu country covetously. Yesterday, after Cold Jade saw you, she went to see the 10th prince. This time, her main goal is to form a marriage alliance with the 10th prince. The Lei family's elders even went to Baoyu country to exchange tokens. Lu Baiwe said, "Don't be used." Chapter 76. Although what you're doing isn't appropriate, you're doing it out of kindness and thinking for the court. The most important thing is to confiscate the Blood Jade pill from Frost Jade Dew. Otherwise, you'll be caught. Then, Boss and 10th will use the Imperial Censor to accuse you of taking bribes and pleading for the enemy. You'll be suspected of colluding with the enemy. Do you know that Frost Jade Dew praised 10th for your noble character and unquestionable integrity? You've told her all your secrets. She's very scheming and you need to be careful of her. Also, Dragon Sword Island's Long Yun has joined you, right? Lu Baiwe seemed to know all his secrets. Right now, your residence in the capital is filled with her people. You need to be careful. If you don't have reliable people, I can give you a few death warriors. These people's intelligence is really everywhere. Gu Chunsha wasn't surprised. The princes had many spies and it was very difficult to hide from them. Luckily, they don't know my big secret, like Yiming and the Sun-Moon altar. Of course, he wouldn't tell Lu Baiwe everything and didn't dare to ask for Lu Baiwe's people. I'm training my own people. I'll bring them with me and take it slow. I know you have the Tiger Wolf pill, and it can train experts quickly. How many do you have left? This was what Lu Baiwe really wanted to ask. Do you want them? Gu Chunshao obviously heard what she was implying. I have dozens. What do you want to exchange for them? There are actually dozens of them. Lu Baiwe was delighted. If I want all of them and you don't want to give them to me, then I'll ask for 20. I'll use the Heavenly Dew to exchange. How about that? I don't want the Heavenly Dew. Gu Chunsha had close to 700 drops of Heavenly Dew. He didn't lack it for now. In the future, when he fought the barbarians, there would be many more Heavenly Dew. Then what do you want? Lu Baiwe frowned. The Heavenly Dew is the best treasure. It can be used for anything, especially if you use it. Not only can it make up for your previous losses, but it can also establish your Dao foundation. It'll be easier for you to step into the Dao realm. Forget it, I don't lack anything right now. Since you want it, I'll give it to you. Gu Chunsha took out a bottle gourd from his backpack and said, "There are 20 of them in here. I'm giving them to you." Really? Lu Baiwe, who was shrewd, was almost stunned. She had completely miscalculated, but she did not expect Gu Chunsha to be so generous. The power of the Tiger Wolf Dan was secondary. The most important thing was to make people have a tenacious character and dignity, which was something that no alchemist could achieve. Many elixirs could also directly upgrade people who did not know martial arts to the strength of a martial arts master, but without that kind of character, they were still trash. The disciples of great aristocratic families did not lack medicinal pills, but they lacked the ferocity of wolves and tigers. Have I ever lied? Gu Chunsha smiled. Father wants us to cooperate sincerely. The most important thing now is to kill the barbarians and eliminate the hidden dangers at the borders. We need to destroy the evil god's temple so that the evil god will lose his faith and support. If you need the Tiger Wolf pill, I will naturally give it to you. All right, I'll accept it. Don't be sad. Lu Baiwe turned her hand slightly and took the bottle gourd of Tiger Wolf pills. Gu Chunsha would not feel sad. There were many ferocious tigers and wolves in the barbarian land that ate people in group. When the time came, he could sacrifice a lot of Tiger Wolf pills, so what was a mere 20? Moreover, He knew that Lu Baiwe was arrogant and would definitely not ask for things for free. Princess, if there is nothing else, I will return to the team first. Gu Chernsha cupped his hands. Originally, according to etiquette, his status was more distinguished than Lu Baiwe's, but Lu Baiwe temporarily held the token of, as the emperor attends. Her status was so high that even the princes were one level lower. Thank you for the gift. Lu Baiwe did not express anything. Gu Chernsha did not care and returned to his team. Princess, are you going to accept his tiger wolf pill just like that? Miao Xiang, who was wearing the horned dragon armor, came over and whispered, No one can refine the tiger wolf pill. It is an ancient item. I'm afraid it will be difficult to buy even with a price of 100,000. If the rich and powerful want it, they can even raise it for hundreds of thousands. He has some tricks up his sleeve. Lu Baiwe smiled. He has figured out my personality and knows that I will not accept it for free. He is just pretending to be generous. If he tries to bargain with me, it will seem a bit low. If he gives it to me directly, I will naturally be too embarrassed to give him something inferior. This way, he will be at an advantage. But I will accept it and not give him a gift in return. I will play a little trick on him and see how his heart hurts. Master, are you really going to give this pill to her? Yiming also asked quietly. It doesn't matter. This pill is not precious to me. She will definitely give me a gift in return. Even if she doesn't give me a gift in return, I will owe her a favor. Gu Chernsha really did not feel any pain. He had only killed a few tigers and wolves. What was there to feel pain about? Along the way, Lu Baiwe did not mention this matter. It seemed that she had accepted it, but she was secretly observing Gu Chernsha. She found that this person was silently rushing along, meditating on martial arts, and his mind was wandering. He really did not care about the 20 tiger wolf pills. She could not help but frown. The army marched rapidly for 2 days and 2 nights. The rain did not stop. Gu Chernsha and his subordinates were fine. The horned dragon armor on their bodies was like a protective shield. The rain could not penetrate them at all. They were dry. However, the soldiers under the 10th prince and the 3rd prince's subordinates were already drenched. They trudged with difficulty in the bitter rain. Although their martial arts were high and the lowest rank was a martial warrior, their physical strength was also seriously weakened. Martial warriors, martial masters, and even martial arts grandmasters were easily affected by illness. Many martial arts grandmasters in the Jianghu died of illness. Old injuries acted up, and they fell sick from old age. Only by stepping into the Tao realm and absorbing spiritual qi could one cleanse the filthy flesh and blood. Even the war python armor could not withstand the cold of the rain. The 10th prince gritted his teeth in hatred, but he did not flare up. On the other hand, the 3rd prince looked calm. He had long been used to it. Although his subordinates were also drenched, their mental and physical strength were at their peak. They had a unique method. It was no wonder that they had been training outside the pass for years. We have arrived at the great stone wall. As they walked, an endless greenish-gray mountain suddenly appeared in the distance. It was like a fence at the end of the sky. Looking closely, the mountain was a city wall. It was as tall as the clouds. People below the city wall were like ants in front of an elephant. This was no longer a city wall. It was a miracle. Oh my God! This was the first time Gu Chernsha saw the great stone wall. He almost knelt on the ground and worshipped it. He had seen many city walls and huge buildings. He had also read about the great stone wall in ancient books. However, he still could not believe it when he saw it with his own eyes. This was no longer a city wall. They had moved the mountain over and shaved it into the shape of a city wall. Looking at the city wall, Gu Chernsha felt like he had come to a country of giants. Everything was so small. To build such a wall in 10 years and keep countless barbarian tribes out of the country, it was not the power of humans. It was the gods moving the mountain. Every time I see the great stone wall, I feel like the barbarian race can't win against such a strong dynasty. Any commoner who comes here will worship the heavenly talisman emperor. Ming sighed. Even many of our barbarian tribes lose confidence when they see this wall. They feel like the Yonko is a country protected by the heavens. Gu Chernsha looked at the great stone wall greedily. He also saw many commoners, scholars, and people of the pugilistic world. Some of them were here for the first time. They all knelt down and worshipped it. Every year, countless people came to visit the great stone wall. Anyone who saw it would be confident and think that the imperial court was invincible. Gu Chernsha thought that the records were exaggerated, but now, even he was shocked. When he saw the great stone wall, he felt like the Tao realm, the 9 bulls and 2 tigers, even the qi refining to astral energy, the glass jade body, they were all dust. Since ancient times, the achievements of the emperors and generals were like smoke compared to this. Even if one cultivated the Tao realm glass jade body, trying to build this great stone wall was like an ant trying to shake a tree. Heaven Bearing Pass is in front. Let's enter and we will be able to meet up. Lu Baiwei waved her whip and pointed. Although Heaven Bearing Pass was a pass, it was more like a giant fortress. It was a gate built beneath the great stone wall. There were many layers of forts that intersected with one another. There were cannons, crossbows, and all sorts of terrifying killing weapons. The commerce here was 10 times more flourishing than the bazaar at the relay station 2 days ago. All sorts of skyscrapers had been built around the Great Wall in an orderly fashion. Caravans carrying goods flowed in and out of the city day and night. There were also caravans that came from outside the pass. Some caravans returned from a fruitful journey, their faces filled with joy. Some caravans were covered in blood and groaning incessantly. There were even caravans that carried corpses and wailed. They had lost their lives after leaving the pass to mine for gold and treasures. They had either been killed by the barbarians, devoured by wild beasts, or bitten to death by poisonous insects. There are actually many Tao realm experts here. Gu Chernsha was really sharp and sensed that there were many experts here. Of course, there are many hidden experts among the people. They aren't willing to work for the imperial court and are restricted. They like to be free. Ming said, "There are even some evil people who work with the barbarian race and join us. Now that the great Yong race and the barbarian race are about to go to war, many experts will come here to fish in troubled waters. They will also go to the market to buy and sell the barbarian race's medicinal herbs and treasures." Gu Chernsha thought about it and agreed. If he cultivated to the Tao realm among the people, he would not need to eat the food of the mortal world. He would also be free and unfettered by the imperial court. Although all lands under the heavens belonged to the imperial court, the land of infinity was too big. The great Yonko unifying the 100 kingdoms was just a drop in the ocean. In the territories outside the great Yonko, there were many immortal sects that had been passed down since ancient times. Some of them would come to the mortal world every few decades or even centuries to choose disciples. These were not things that the imperial court could manage. The main road was already under martial law. The governor of Heaven Bearing Pass was also there to receive them. Many generals and officials were already waiting. The soldiers stretched for dozens of miles, and the army looked majestic. 19th Lord, please receive the decree. There was actually a eunuch standing beside the governor of Heaven Bearing Pass. When he saw the procession, he spoke. "You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.